Chapter 2256. Spare my life, my lord. Spare my life, my lord. The sturdy boar devil shuddered when he saw Duan Lingtian looking at him, after taking his companion's spatial ring. He immediately fell to his knees and begged with a trembling voice. Apart from the three patriarchs, who has the highest innate talent in the boar devil clan? Duan Lingtian asked indifferently, as he looked at the boar devil, who was kneeling on the ground, as though nothing had happened after he killed the boar devil. Who has the highest innate talent? The boar devil who was kneeling on the ground was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's question. What? You don't know? Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes when he saw the boar devil did not respond. His eyes flashed coldly. At this moment, killing intent surged from Duan Lingtian's body, as a terrifying aura swept out and shrouded the boar devil. The boar devil shuddered when he sensed the terrifying aura. He quickly regained his senses and replied in a flustered manner. My lord, I know. I know. I really know. Speak. Duan Lingtian snorted coldly. Apart from the three patriarchs, the three great guardian warriors have the highest innate talent in the boar devil clan. Then, there's the younger generation in the three great guardian warriors. The boar devil spoke without any hesitation, as though he was afraid Duan Lingtian would treat him the same way he treated his companion. His strength was only on par with his companion. However, the human devil powerhouse in front of him had killed his companion with just a wave of his hand. If he was in Duan Lingtian's shoes, he would not be an exception. Because of this, he did not dare to think of running away in front of the human devil expert after witnessing his companion's death. He knew there was no way he could run away. The three great guardian warriors? Are they very innate? Duan Lingtian interrupted the boar devil before he could finish speaking. Duan Lingtian had heard about the three great guardian warriors in the boar devil clan when he was in the human devil saint city. He knew they were famous powerhouses in the boar devil clan. The three great guardian warriors were only at the 8th form of the saint celestial stage. Moreover, they were still quite a distance away from the peak of the 8th form of the saint celestial stage. However, due to the fact that they were twins, they had a special connection with each other. Due to this reason, they were extremely powerful when they joined forces. Most importantly, they were not ordinary twin brothers. They were triplet twins. There were 3 of them in total. They had the same cultivation base and techniques. When the 3 of them joined forces, the strength they could display was even more terrifying than the combined strength of 2 pairs of twin brothers. When the 3 great guardian warriors joined forces, their strength was second only to the 3 patriarchs in the boar devil clan. They were the leaders of the 3 strongest tribes in the boar devil clan. In the boar devil clan, the 3 great guardian warriors were widely acknowledged as invincible among those below the 9th form of the saint celestial stage. Even Xing Yuanba, the vice palace master of Great Spirit Palace, who was widely acknowledged as the strongest person below the 9th form of the saint celestial stage, had been defeated by the 3 great guardian warriors in the boar devil clan. Yes. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's question, the muscular boar devil, who was kneeling on the ground, did not dare to hesitate. He quickly replied, They're even more outstanding than the younger generation in our boar devil clan. They're the most outstanding prodigies among the younger generation in the boar devil clan. The younger generation? They're considered the younger generation in the boar devil clan? Duan Lingtian was slightly surprised. Previously, he had only heard that the 3 great guardian warriors in the boar devil clan were very powerful. However, he had no idea how old they were. Now that Duan Lingtian had returned to the Debussy subterranean for some time, he roughly knew how the younger generation was defined in the devil clans. Generally speaking, 8 or 9 out of 10 of the younger generation of the demon race were not more than 100 years old. Yes. The boar devil nodded in response to Duan Lingtian's question. The 3 great guardian warriors are young. They're only in their 50s. Only in their 50s. They're so young. Duan Lingtian was shocked by the boar devil's words. They were only in their 50s, but their cultivation base was at the 8th form of the saint celestial stage. Even if they continuously devoured other people's vital energy and blood to raise their cultivation base, it was impossible for them to raise their cultivation base in such a short time if they were not extremely talented. Their innate spiritual roots. They should all be indigo innate spiritual roots. And they shouldn't just be light indigo innate spiritual roots. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could not help but speculate. Of course, at most, it's a dark blue innate spiritual root. However, the possibility of this is not high. When he was in the human devil saint city, Duan Lingtian had tried to learn more about the innate spiritual roots of the devils. In the history of the devil clans, there were only a few peerless geniuses with purple innate spiritual roots. Moreover, they were all human devils with pure human bloodline. In other words, apart from the human devil clan, there had never been a peerless genius with a violet innate spiritual root in the devil clans. Because of this, in Duan Lingtian's impression, a dark blue spirit root was already the limit of a demon's innate talent. For this reason, although Duan Lingtian was certain the three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan possessed blue innate spiritual roots, he did not think they possessed dark blue innate spiritual roots. He thought they only possessed normal blue innate spiritual roots. Nevertheless, Duan Lingtian was still pleasantly surprised. These three people, even if they only possess light indigo innate spiritual roots, I'm 100% confident my innate spiritual root will transform into a black innate spiritual root after I devour their innate spiritual roots. The moment Duan Lingtian thought of this, his emotions surged again. At this moment, he could already see his innate spiritual root transforming into a black innate spiritual root. It's them then. Duan Lingtian had his eyes on the three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan. To be more precise, he had his eyes on the three great guardian warriors' innate spiritual roots. Which tribe are the three Vajras of your Boar Demon clan from? The Black Boar tribe? The Thunder Boar tribe? Or the Red Boar tribe? Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice as he looked at the muscular Boar Devil kneeling on the ground. If the three great guardian warriors belonged to one of the three tribes, it would be difficult for him to kill them. This was because each of the three tribes had a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. With his current strength, he was confident he could kill a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage with the help of the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. However, he was not 100% confident he could kill a devil powerhouse. He could only use the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, after he cast the divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to raise his Sun Saint origin to the level of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Otherwise, he was not confident he could kill a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Up until now, he had not come into contact with many powerhouses at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Only Tang Xian, the sect leader of the Zoroastrianism in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, and Lang Qianjin, the supreme elder of the Zhuangzi Buddhism, Tang Xian had displayed the strength of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage during his battle with Lang Qianjin. Duan Lingtian could not help but feel chills running up his spine when he thought about it. A powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage was too strong. Duan Lingtian knew Tang Xian and Lang Qianjin were not weak at all. Both Tang Xian and Lang Qianjin were not the strongest powerhouses at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage below the eminent Celestial stage. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was still wary of a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, even though he had the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. Although I can use the divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to raise the Sun Saint origin in my body to the level of a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, in just a blink of an eye. However, even with the Sun Saint origin, that's comparable to a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, and the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, I'm not confident I can kill a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. In fact, even if I can raise my Sun Saint origin to the level of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage with the elementary devouring tactic, I'm not 100% confident I can kill a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. After all, the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet in my hand is not complete. I believe the complete Devil Seal Tablet would be able to kill a devil powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. However, I'm not 100% sure if the missing Devil Seal tablet would be able to kill a Devil Powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. For these reasons, Duan Lingtian did not dare to take the risk of killing a Devil Powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Otherwise, he could have raised his son Saint Origin to the level of a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage before he killed the 3 great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan. At that time, even if one of the patriarchs at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage arrived in time, he would be able to kill the 3 great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan. He would be able to use his son Saint Origin to activate the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal tablet, to kill the 3 great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan. They don't belong to any tribe. At this moment, the Boar Devil who was kneeling on the ground said, "To a certain extent, they're considered sectless cultivators in the Boar Devil clan." The Boar Devil who was kneeling on the ground said, "Sectless cultivators?" Duan Lingtian's eyes lit up when he heard the Boar Devil's words. Chapter 2257. Duan Lingtian had asked who had the highest innate talent in the Boar Devil clan, because he wanted to devour a high-grade innate spiritual root to obtain a black innate spiritual root. This would save him a lot of time. If he devoured a low-grade innate spiritual root from an ordinary Boar Devil, his innate spiritual root would transform into a black innate spiritual root. However, it would take a long time for him to do so. Duan Lingtian did not want to waste too much time. Kerr did not want to be separated from him for too long, and the same went for him. Duan Lingtian only wanted to finish this as soon as possible, so he could return to be with Kerr. The 3 great guardian warriors all possess indigo innate spiritual roots, and are sectless cultivators. Duan Lingtian's eyes brightened when he learned about the Boar Devil clan's 3 great guardian warriors from the kneeling Boar Devil. His breathing quickened as well. What did it mean for the 3 great guardian warriors to be considered as sectless cultivators in the Boar Devil clan? It meant they were not in the 3 most powerful tribes in the Boar Devil clan. They were most likely not in the vicinity of the 3 powerhouses at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. The territory of the Boar Devil clan is neither big nor small. Do you know where the 3 great guardian warriors are? Duan Lingtian asked in a deep voice as he looked at the Boar Devil kneeling in the air. "My lord, will you let me go if I tell you where they are?" The Boar Devil did not reply to Duan Lingtian immediately. Instead, he looked at Duan Lingtian with a hopeful expression on his face. It was as though he had found a straw to clutch at. "What? Are you trying to negotiate with me?" Duan Lingtian sneered as he looked at the Boar Devil. "Or do you think you're the only one who knows where the 3 great guardian warriors are?" As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, killing intent surged out of his body and shrouded the Boar Devil. The killing intent that surged out of Duan Lingtian's body frightened the Boar Devil so much that he hastily shook his head. "My lord, that's not what I meant. I really didn't mean that. I'll bring you to the cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors. I'll bring you there immediately." The Boar Devil looked at Duan Lingtian anxiously. He was afraid Duan Lingtian would attack him. Most Boar Devils knew where the cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors was. Therefore, he really couldn't use this to threaten the human powerhouse in front of him. "Lead the way." Duan Lingtian grunted coldly. The Boar Devil hastily rose to his feet and led Duan Lingtian to the place where the 3 great guardian warriors were cultivating. The cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors was far away from the gathering place of the Boar Devil clan. Due to this reason, they did not encounter any other Boar Devils along the way. "My lord, the cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors is just ahead. We'll arrive after we cross the mountain in front." The Boar Devil who was leading the way turned to tell Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded indifferently. The cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors was far away from the gathering place of the Boar Devil clan. This was exactly what he wanted. He was worried the cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors was not far away from the gathering place of the Boar Devil clan. After all, if any of the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan interfered, he might not be able to devour the innate spiritual roots of the 3 great guardian warriors. Soon after, Duan Lingtian followed the boar devil and crossed the mountain in front of them. Duan Lingtian suddenly frowned as though he had sensed something. He immediately looked down at the mountain range beneath his feet. Whoosh! Whoosh! Almost at the same time when Duan Lingtian lowered his head to look, two whistling sounds resonated in the continuous mountain range. Following that, two figures appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes. They were none other than two boar devils. One of the boar devils was plump and had a big belly. He resembled Zhu Beiji, the second senior brother of Duan Lingtian from the ancient legends on Earth. The other one was well built. Although he also had a pig's head, his facial features were more delicate. He could be considered as a rare good-looking man in the boar devil clan. Xiong, how dare you bring a human devil into the territory of the boar devil clan? How dare you? The plump boar devil who resembled Zhu Beiji moved like a ball and rolled toward Duan Lingtian, and the muscular boar devil named Xiong, who was leading the way for Duan Lingtian. A hint of schadenfreude could be heard in his voice. My lord, this is one of my enemies. I didn't expect him to be here. Xiong, the boar devil who was leading the way for Duan Lingtian, said with a wry smile as he looked at Duan Lingtian, with a grim expression on his face. Even as he smiled bitterly, a gleam of schadenfreude flashed in the depths of his eyes. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian was a fool. That blind guy is dead for sure. Humph! Duan Lingtian naturally noticed the gloating look in Xiong's eyes. He could guess what Xiong was thinking. However, after a scoff, he made his move. Boom! 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 Duan Lingtian did not seem to have done anything, but a vast energy surged out of his body. It was as though a ferocious beast had opened its mouth and pounced toward the plump boar devil. The plump boar devil did not even have time to react before he was devoured by the energy surging out of Duan Lingtian's body. Not a single trace of him was left behind. All that was left was a spatial ring that fell from the sky. Whoosh! As soon as the spatial ring fell, Xiong flew out and retrieved it before he respectfully handed it to Duan Lingtian. My lord! After taking the spatial ring, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze to the muscular boar devil. My lord, he's that fellow's companion, so we can't let him live. Otherwise, news of your arrival will spread in the boar devil clan. Xiong said to Duan Lingtian. The gloating glint in the depths of his eyes grew even denser. The remaining boar devil was also his nemesis. Run! The muscular boar devil shuddered when he heard Xiong's words. He regained his senses and tried to flee immediately. What a joke! Since this human devil could easily kill his companion, it was only natural that he could easily kill him as well. After all, his strength was only on par with his companion. When his companion was killed, he was so terrified that he could not even muster the will to fight back. Swoosh! The sound of sword whistling in the air rang in the air. Duan Lingtian had casually pointed his finger at the boar devil. The boar devil who was about to flee did not even have time to take a step before the sword ray that shot out from Duan Lingtian's finger pierced through the space between his brows. Die! In just a blink of an eye, the two boar devils were killed by Duan Lingtian. Although the muscular boar devil named Xiong knew Duan Lingtian was strong, he could not help but shudder when he saw how easily Duan Lingtian had killed two boar devils, whose strength was on par with his. However, when he regained his senses, he quickly took the spatial ring from the muscular boar devil's hand and handed it to Duan Lingtian respectfully. Then, without waiting for Duan Lingtian's reply, he continued to lead the way obediently. At the same time, he was delighted when he thought about how Duan Lingtian had killed his two nemeses. Without his two nemeses, he would be able to live comfortably in the future. My lord, we're here. As soon as Xiong's voice rang in the air, a vast valley appeared in front of Duan Lingtian's eyes. On the other side of this vast valley, there were three simple wooden huts standing on the mountainside. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian extended his divine consciousness toward the three wooden houses. Who's there? In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian felt three divine consciousnesses that were stronger than his own charging toward his divine consciousness. However, Duan Lingtian seemed to be prepared for this. The moment the three powerful divine senses collided with him, his divine sense quickly retreated, returning to his soul in the blink of an eye. The divine consciousness was dependent on the soul. The level of one's soul was directly related to one's cultivation base. Currently, Duan Ling Tian's cultivation base was at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. His soul and divine consciousness were at the same level as well. The divine consciousness that was stronger than his had to be from a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, or higher. The 3 great guardian warriors. Duan Ling Tian was certain this was the cultivation place of the 3 great guardian warriors. The boar devil who led the way had not lied to him. Boom, boom, boom. Almost as soon as the thought left Duan Ling Tian's mind, the 3 wooden houses on the other side of the mountain, on the other side of the valley exploded in unison. 3 figures that looked like devil gods appeared out of thin air. In just a blink of an eye, the 3 figures appeared in the sky near Duan Ling Tian. They hovered in the air and stared at Duan Ling Tian fiercely. They were none other than the 3 boar devils who looked identical. The 3 boar devils were very tall. They were at least 2 meters tall. And their devil chi was so strong that they looked like 3 devil gods. These 3 boar devils were the 3 great guardian warriors of the boar devil clan. A human devil? The expressions of the 3 great guardian warriors from the boar devil clan darkened when they saw Duan Ling Tian's appearance. You've got guts. How dare you bring a human devil into the boar devil clan's territory? When the boar devil Xiong Jie's expression changed drastically when he saw the 3 great guardian warriors, one of the 3 great guardian warriors suddenly shouted. In just a blink of an eye, devil chi surged out of his body and transformed into a gigantic palm that slammed down on Xiong Jie. Boom! The giant palm tore through the air and swept down like a huge mountain crashing down, its momentum vast and mighty. Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow, but he did not stop it. Chapter 2258. Xiong Suk, the boar devil, was overjoyed when he learned that his 2 rivals had been killed by Duan Ling Tian. He felt that he would be able to live a better life in the future. However, he did not expect that Duan Ling Tian would be killed so easily. He did not even have the chance to live a better life before he was killed. Moreover, he was killed by a fellow boar devil. When one of the 3 great guardian warriors from the boar devil clan attacked Xiong Suk, Duan Ling Tian was in time to stop him. However, he did not do so. Even if the 3 great guardian warriors did not kill Xiong Suk, he did not plan to let him go. Since Xiong Suk had used him to kill the 2 boar devils, he was also using Xiong Suk to find the 3 great guardian warriors. The boar devil clan had killed countless humans. He would not show any mercy to such a clan of devils. Brat, as a human devil, how dare you come to the boar devil clan's territory? It seems like you're tired of living. One of the 3 great guardian warriors from the boar devil clan, the boar devil who had just killed Xiong Suk, said coldly as he glared at Duan Ling Tian. Tired of living? Duan Ling Tian could not help but laugh when he heard the boar devil's words. Without waiting for the boar devil's reply, Duan Ling Tian's eyes turned cold as a sneer appeared on his face. The reason I came to the boar devil clan's territory is because of the 3 great guardian warriors. Now, all of you can accompany that boar devil in hell. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, a whirlpool appeared in the air. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A whirlpool appeared out of thin air. It spun continuously, as though it was going to devour heaven and earth. When the whirlpool merged with Duan Ling Tian, it began to devour the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Ling Tian's Sun Saint origin had risen to the level of a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Moreover, it continued to rise, albeit at a slower pace. Shameless boasting. At the same time, the 3 great guardian deities roared furiously in unison as well. At the same time, they all came back to their senses. Golden Crow's wings, under the watchful eyes of the 3 boar devils, who had just come back to their senses, Duan Ling Tian cast the Golden Crow's wings, and a pair of flaming wings appeared on his back. As soon as the wings appeared, they began to flap violently. Immediately, boom, 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 accompanied by the deafening sound of air exploding, Duan Ling Tian had already left his original spot under the push of the Golden Crow's wings and arrived at another place. and the surroundings of the place where he arrived were rich in heaven and earth spirit chi for him to freely devour. Elementary devouring technique. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian had devoured all the surrounding spiritual energy. He's using an assist-type divine ability to absorb world energy to enhance his saint chi. At this moment, one of the three great guardian deities of the Boar Demon clan was the first to notice something was amiss, and he let out an urgent roar. Immediately, the other two of the three great guardian deities came back to their senses. As powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, they were extremely sensitive to the heaven and earth spirit chi. They could clearly see that the surrounding heaven and earth spirit chi had become very thin. It was as though the heaven and earth spirit chi was being sucked dry. Kill him! The three great guardian deities roared at the same time. As twins, they had a tacit understanding with each other. As soon as they finished speaking, they charged toward Duan Lingtian in unison. Swoosh! 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 The three great guardian deities were extremely fast. They moved in unison like three streaks of lightning as they charged toward Duan Lingtian. Although the three great guardian deities were fast, they were only as fast as Duan Lingtian. Even if they cast their divine abilities, their movement techniques, and their soaring devil chi, they still could not outrun Duan Lingtian in terms of speed. After all, Duan Lingtian had changed a few places to absorb the heaven and earth spirit chi. Although his saint origin was not as strong as a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, it was not far from it. Elementary devouring tactic. After devouring the heaven and earth spirit chi in one place, Duan Lingtian moved to another place. Elementary devouring tactic. He moved to another place. Elementary devouring tactic. He moved to another place. This is bad. His saint origin is still increasing. One of the three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan cried out in alarm when he saw Duan Lingtian's sun saint origin was getting stronger and stronger. A hint of dread could be heard in his voice when he heard Duan Lingtian's words. Swoosh! Swoosh! The other two great guardian deities were horrified as well when they discovered Duan Lingtian's saint origin was increasing in speed. At this moment, the three great guardian deities realized something was amiss. At this moment, finally, after some effort, Duan Lingtian finally managed to raise his sun saint origin to the level of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. He could not help but feel excited. At this moment, his sun saint origin had completely surpassed the saint origin of the three great guardian deities. I've long heard that the three great guardian deities from the Boar Devil clan are almost invincible against cultivators below the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage when they join forces. Now that his sun saint origin was comparable to the saint origin of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence. He immediately turned around and shouted as he charged toward the three great guardian deities, who were still chasing after him. Golden Crow's Wings. Currently, Duan Lingtian's sun saint origin was comparable to the saint origin of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage when he cast the divine ability, the Golden Crow's Wings. His speed was naturally twice as fast as the three great guardian deities. 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. The three great guardian deities' expressions changed drastically when they saw Duan Lingtian charging toward them. At this moment, based on the human devil powerhouse's speed and the surging saint origin, they could tell the human devil powerhouse's saint origin was at the 9th form of the saint origin. The human devil powerhouse's saint origin had risen to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Moreover, his speed had risen to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. They could not compare to him at all. Defend with all your might. We'll deal with him after the effect of his assist-type divine ability wears off. At the same time, the three great guardian deities came to a halt. They stood back to back and faced different directions. As soon as the three of them formed a group, the demon chi in their bodies merged together. The demon chi in their bodies fused together perfectly, mixing with the three perfectly fused saint chi, and forming a solid black light shield that enveloped the three of them. Upon closer inspection, one could clearly see that there were black lightning bolts everywhere. Bolts of black lightning could be seen swirling around the black light shield. Every time a bolt of lightning flashed, it was filled with waves of demonic chi and emitted a terrifying aura. At the critical moment, the three guardian deities chose to join forces to defend. Since they were twins, they were able to perfectly fuse their defensive martial tactics and defensive divine abilities together to cast a defensive technique that could withstand the attacks of a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage for a period of time. Unless it was a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, who was close to passing the heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, it would be impossible for an ordinary powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage to breach their defenses in such a short time. In their opinion, although the human devil powerhouse's strength was comparable to a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, it was all thanks to his assist-type divine ability. As long as the support god art's effect was over, he would return to his original state. At that time, he would be at their mercy again. I can't believe this human devil has mastered such a powerful assist-type divine ability. He's actually able to raise his saint origin to the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. The three guardian warriors who were very confident in their defenses couldn't help but sigh. Humph. As long as we survive this wave of attacks, when the effect of his support god art wears off, won't he be a fish on the chopping board for us to slaughter? His current strength is comparable to an ordinary powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage at most. It's impossible for him to breach our defenses in such a short time. The three great guardian deities were very confident in their combined defensive techniques. Interesting. Duan Lingtian, who was charging toward the three guardian warriors, raised an eyebrow when he saw their defenses. He raised his hand and took out his 1,000 inscriptions saint sword. Otherworldly celestial, sword-wielding art. In the next moment, he unleashed the strongest attack that he could unleash at the moment. He cast his offensive divine ability, the otherworldly celestial, and the third stage of the Supreme Sword Tao mental cultivation method, the Sovereign Heart Sword. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also conjured a few clones. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The main body of the 1,000 inscriptions sacred sword and its doppelganger were filled with sun saint origin as they flew towards the three great Vajras in formation. Several thousand inscriptions saint swords pierced through the air, emitting a series of sword whistles that lasted only for a brief moment. The sword rays flashed and whistled through the air as if they could pierce through everything. How fast! How powerful! At the same time, the three great guardian warriors from the Boardevil clan discovered how terrifying Duan Lingtian's attack was. In their eyes, the streaks of sword light were like the fleeting appearance of a swan. Finally, the main body of the 1,000 inscriptions saint sword and the clones collided with the three guardian warriors' defenses. Boom! 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 However, along with a series of earth-shattering noises, rang out. Duan Lingtian's attacks landed on the defensive light shield cast by the three great guardian warriors, causing ripples to form on the shield. Chapter 2259. Although Duan Lingtian's attacks were swift and ferocious, it was difficult for him to break through the defensive technique cast by the three great guardian warriors of the Boardevil clan. As expected, Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly when he saw this. In fact, he had expected this to happen. However, he could not help but sigh when it turned out to be true. Currently, he was attacking with all his might. Alas, he was still unable to break through the defenses of the three great guardian warriors. Although my sun saint origin has reached the critical point of the saint origin of a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, I can't unleash the full strength of my saint origin, since I'm not a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. In fact, he had already noticed this when he tried to raise his sun saint origin to the level of a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Although he had raised his saint origin to that level, he could not unleash the full strength of his saint origin. When a powerhouse at the eighth form of the Saint Celestial stage broke through to the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, not only would his saint origin improve, but his comprehension of heaven and earth would also improve. It sounded extremely mysterious, but it wasn't completely without reason. The ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage was also known as the Celestial Ascension form. Some people might think that the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage was called the Celestial Ascension form because powerhouses at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage had to undergo the Celestial Ascension tribulation. However, this was a huge mistake. Although the Celestial Ascension tribulation was one of the reasons the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage was called the Celestial Ascension form, it was not the only reason. There was a process for powerhouses at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage to trigger the Celestial Ascension tribulation. This process was based on one's comprehension of heaven and earth. Only when one's comprehension of heaven and earth had reached a certain level would one be able to trigger the Celestial Ascension tribulation. Otherwise, even if one's saint origin had reached the critical point, one would not be able to trigger the Celestial Ascension tribulation. If he could not attract the Celestial Ascension tribulation, he would not be able to pass the tribulation, let alone become an eminent celestial. In the process of comprehending heaven and earth, powerhouses at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage would be able to use their saint origin with ease. This was the use of Saint Chi that transcended martial arts and divine abilities. It was also because of this. The strength of the saint origin cast by a powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, and Duan Ling Tian, who was a martial cultivator, at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage, were on a completely different level. During the battle between Tang Xian, the sect leader of the Zoroastrianism, and Lang Qianjin, the supreme elder of the Zhuangzi Buddhism, Tang Xian's saint origin definitely didn't reach the critical point. And his martial arts moves and divine abilities won't be stronger than mine. However, even so, the strength he displayed at that time was far superior to my full strength attack. The reason why this happened is because he has become more and more proficient in using his Saint Chi through perceiving this world, allowing him to control his own Saint Chi, like an extension of his own body, far surpassing my current level. Duan Ling Tian had personally witnessed the battle between Tang Xian, the sect leader of the Zoroastrianism, and Lang Qianjin, the supreme elder of the Zhuangzi Buddhism. That battle was still vivid in his mind. For this reason, he could clearly see the difference in strength between him and Tang Xian and Lang Qianjin. If my cultivation base was at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage, instead of the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage, I would have been able to slightly comprehend heaven and earth. The force of my earlier attack wouldn't have merely caused a small ripple in their defenses. Duan Ling Tian sighed inwardly as he looked at the defensive light shield around the three great guardian warriors. Only powerhouses at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage would be able to comprehend heaven and earth. For this reason, no matter how much Duan Ling Tian sighed, it did not change the fact that he was unable to comprehend heaven and earth. Boy from the Human Devil clan, go ahead and use your assist-type divine ability while it's still in effect. Otherwise, you might not be able to withstand a single attack from the three of us once the effect of your assist-type divine ability wears off. One of the three great guardian warriors said mockingly as he looked at Duan Ling Tian. I didn't expect the Human Devil clan to have someone like you. Even Xing Yuan Ba, the strongest person below the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage in the Human Devil clan, is no match for you. Unfortunately, even if you're stronger than Xing Yuan Ba, you're going to die here today. The other two great guardian warriors looked at Duan Ling Tian mockingly as well. Due to Duan Ling Tian's earlier attack, the defensive light shield that was shrouded in devil chi had dimmed slightly, but it was not as obvious as before. It was obvious the defensive light shield did not deplete much of its energy after withstanding Duan Ling Tian's attack. Upon hearing the three great guardian warriors' words, Duan Ling Tian raised an eyebrow as he narrowed his eyes. In an instant, a cold glint flashed across his narrowed eyes. It seems like all of you think you can defeat me? Duan Ling Tian said calmly as soon as he opened his eyes. It was as though he was not affected by the three great guardian warriors' words at all. Nothing could be more calm than this. To a certain extent, Duan Lingtian's calmness had shocked the three great guardian warriors as well. However, they were only taken aback for a moment before the sneer on their faces deepened. "You're just bluffing. Do you think we'll be afraid of you just because of this? Ridiculous." When the three great guardian warriors spoke again, their voices were filled with disdain. "Your wishful thinking is pretty good," Li Yao said with a smile. Duan Lingtian's expression remained unchanged in the face of the three great guardian warriors' disdain and ridicule. His tone was still very calm. "If I continue to attack with all my strength, I might be able to break through your defense after a while. However, by that time, the effect of my assist-type divine ability would have worn off. My saint origin would have been reduced to its original state." Duan Lingtian's words destroyed the three great guardian warriors' thoughts. "However, have you thought about this? If I escape with my current saint origin, will you be able to catch up with me?" Duan Lingtian continued to ask in a mocking tone. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the three great guardian warriors were stunned for a moment before their expressions darkened. As twins, the three of them worked together. Their strongest technique was their defensive technique, followed by their offensive technique. Their only weakness was their speed. If Duan Lingtian really wanted to escape now, he could easily escape with his life. They would not be able to use their strength at all. Cowards. Sure enough, human devils are all cowards. Human devil brat. You're really a disgrace to the human devil clan. How dare you try to escape? Coward. After Duan Lingtian's reminder, the three great guardian warriors became anxious. They began to mock Duan Lingtian. They wanted to provoke Duan Lingtian, so he would lose his mind and stay behind. Only then would they have a chance to kill the human devil brat. If the human devil brat escaped, they could only watch from the sidelines. There was nothing they could do. Humph. How could Duan Lingtian not see through the three great guardian warriors' little tricks? "The three of you don't have to provoke me. Although I can escape now, I won't. It's because the three of you aren't qualified to make me escape." When Duan Lingtian finished speaking, his words were as clear as day. The three great guardian warriors were also stunned by Duan Lingtian's sudden outburst. They did not know where Duan Lingtian got his confidence from to actually dare to say such a thing. "I have to say, the defensive technique the three of you cast when you join forces is very strong. It's so strong that even an ordinary powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage might not be able to break through it in a short time." Before the three great guardian warriors could regain their senses, Duan Lingtian continued to speak before the three great guardian warriors could react. "Unfortunately, all of you met me today." As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he raised his hand, and a stone tablet with a chipped corner appeared in his hand. When the stone tablet first appeared, it looked simple and unadorned. Apart from the ancient and complicated words carved on it, there was nothing eye-catching about it. All of a sudden, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Along with the soft sound, the stone tablet with a chipped corner in Duan Lingtian's hand suddenly emitted a vast and majestic devil chi. Demonic chi soared into the sky, as if it could break through the dome of heaven. All of this was caused by Duan Lingtian activating the Sun Saint Chi in his body and fusing it into the stone tablet. I didn't expect the Devil Seal tablet would react so strongly when I infused it with the Sun Saint origin, that's comparable to the Saint origin of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Based on the Devil Seal tablet's reaction, it shouldn't be a problem for it to break through the defenses of the three great guardian warriors. At first, Duan Lingtian was shocked by the stone tablet's reaction. However, a moment later, he came back to his senses and revealed a smile. Demonic chi surged from the Devil Seal tombstone, as if it could support the heavens and the earth. If one took a closer look, they would be able to see that, within the demonic chi that soared into the sky, there were bolts of purple lightning that flashed like purple divine dragons. The purple lightning bolts were surrounded by an even more profound devil chi that emitted an ancient and vicissitude aura. It was as though the lightning bolts had an extraordinary origin. The stone tablet with the chipped corner in Duan Lingtian's hand was none other than the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal tablet, that had not appeared in a long time. The three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan noticed the devil chi surging from the Devil Seal tablet. The disdain on their faces disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. The stone tablet in the human devil's hand gave them a sense of oppression that came from the bottom of their hearts and souls. Chapter 2260. All of a sudden, whoosh! A deafening sound rang in the air. The Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal tablet, flew out of Duan Lingtian's hand. It hovered in the air as the devil chi surged. The purple lightning that connected heaven and earth became even more terrifying. Even Duan Lingtian himself did not expect this to happen. For a moment, he was so shocked that he could not help but be stunned. At that moment, a gentle energy surged out of the Devil Seal tablet and pushed his hand away without hurting it. The Devil Seal tablet had also regained its freedom at that moment. The Devil Seal tablet that had regained its freedom hovered in the air. The devil chi that rose from it became even more majestic and majestic. From afar, it looked like a pillar that was burning with black flames. In just a blink of an eye, a change occurred. Whoosh, 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 accompanied by waves of ghost-like wails and wolf-like howls. The soaring demonic aura that seemed to connect the heavens and the earth suddenly gathered and squeezed together. Finally, it descended from the sky and entered the demon sealing tablet. In just a blink of an eye, the devil chi on the Devil Seal tablet surged. Rolling shockwaves swept out in all directions with the Devil Seal tablet as the center. Boom, 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 boom. The shockwaves caused by the surging devil chi on the Devil Seal tablet set off a series of thunderous explosions. At the same time, it stirred up a violent wind that seemed to be able to sweep away everything in its path. At the same time, the three great guardian warriors of the Boar Devil clan, who were protected by the defensive light shield, could clearly sense the strange aura. The aura from the tablet with the missing corner, that was hovering in front of the human devil boy, was so strong that it caused their souls to tremble. It was as though they would not be able to escape from the aura, even if they fled to the ends of the world. This is the Devil Seal tablet. At this moment, no matter how slow the three great guardian warriors were, they could guess what the tablet with the missing corner that caused their souls to tremble was. It was none other than the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal tablet, which was used to restrain the Devil clan. When the expressions of the three great guardian warriors changed drastically, the demonic chi on the Devil Seal tombstone surged as it shot out with a terrifying momentum. Wherever it passed, the void trembled as if it could collapse at any moment. Boom! In the next moment, before the three guardian deities could react, the Devil Seal tombstone had already smashed into the defensive light shield around them. The defensive light barrier was the most powerful technique that the three great guardian warriors could cast. It could even withstand the full-powered attack of an ordinary powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage for a period of time. Even though Duan Lingtian had used all his strength just now, he had only managed to create a small ripple on the surface. And now, boom, 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 boom. After the Devil Seal tombstone smashed into the defensive light barrier, a series of crisp sounds rang out. It was as if the tombstone wouldn't stop. During this process, the defensive light shield that the three King Kongs of the Boar Demon clan relied on to survive was as vulnerable as a clay chicken or a pottery dog. The defensive technique that the three great guardian warriors Cass was like a joke in front of the Devil Seal tombstone. No, no, no. Seeing how the Devil Seal tombstone easily destroyed their defensive means, the pupils of the three great guardian deities constricted. Their expressions changed drastically, and they could not help but let out waves of extremely anxious low roars. Run! The same thought appeared in the three great guardian warriors' minds at the same time. At this time, other than this thought, they couldn't think of anything else. They didn't even have the time to figure out why this human devil brat had the Devil Seal tablet. They didn't even have the time to figure out why this human devil brat could use it. After all, the Devil Seal tombstone was the bane of the devil clans and devil cultivators. They would only suffer backlash if they used the Devil Seal tombstone. Trying to escape? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled up into a sneer when he saw the three great guardian warriors trying to flee in different directions. How could three mere devils at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage escape from the Devil Seal tombstone? The outcome was just as Duan Ling Tian had expected. Boom, 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 boom. Another series of explosions rang in the air. The Devil Seal tombstone had destroyed the three great guardian warriors before they could even make a move. After the Devil Seal tombstone was in its hands, the devil chi around it vanished and returned to its original appearance. It looked harmless. On the other hand, the three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan were lifeless, as though they had lost their souls. Indeed, they had lost their souls. Their souls had been suppressed by the Devil Seal tombstone. As for whether they were sealed within the Devil Seal tombstone or destroyed, only the Devil Seal tombstone knew. Swoosh! Duan Ling Tian made his way to the corpses of the three great guardian warriors. After collecting their spatial rings, he began to devour their innate spiritual roots. Although innate spiritual roots were dependent on one's soul, the Devil Seal tombstone had only targeted the three great guardian warrior souls and did not touch their innate spiritual roots. For this reason, it did not affect Duan Ling Tian's ability to devour their innate spiritual roots. As expected, their innate spiritual roots are blue. When Duan Ling Tian devoured the innate spiritual roots of the three great guardian warriors, he discovered the three great guardian warriors possessed indigo innate spiritual roots. Moreover, their innate spiritual roots were blue. Their innate spiritual roots are enough to help my innate spiritual root break through to the next grade. The moment Duan Ling Tian thought of this, his emotions surged again. After a while, Duan Ling Tian calmed down and began to devour the innate spiritual roots of the three great guardian warriors. Duan Ling Tian was very familiar with the process of devouring the innate spiritual roots. Therefore, he did not encounter any problems, and everything went smoothly. Now is the time. When the innate spiritual roots of the three great guardian warriors merged with his innate spiritual root, Duan Ling Tian's heart skipped a beat. His breathing seemed to have stopped at this moment. At the same time, the innate spiritual roots of the three great guardian warriors merged with Duan Ling Tian's innate spiritual root. Duan Ling Tian's innate spiritual root had already reached the critical point. It was only half a step away from transforming into a black innate spiritual root. Now that the innate spiritual roots of the three great guardian warriors had merged with Duan Ling Tian's innate spiritual root, it instantly helped Duan Ling Tian's innate spiritual root to cross the final step and transform successfully. Black innate spiritual root. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian discovered that his innate spiritual root had transformed into a black innate spiritual root. His innate spiritual root had completely transformed into a black innate spiritual root. Ha 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 ha. Duan Ling Tian was in a good mood when he saw his innate spiritual root had finally transformed into the highest grade, the black innate spiritual root. He could not help but laugh out loud. His laughter was unrestrained and carefree. I wonder how much faster my cultivation speed is now after my innate spiritual root has transformed into a black innate spiritual root. While Duan Ling Tian was trying to sense and absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings, something happened. Before he could sense and absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings, another accident occurred. Boom, 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 boom. Before Duan Ling Tian could absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy in his body, A series of deafening claps of thunder resonated from the clouds above his head. It sounded as though the thunder god was roaring. What happened? For this reason, Duan Ling Tian did not continue to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy. Instead, he raised his head and looked at the horizon. When the spiritual qi of heaven and earth near Duan Ling Tian dissipated, Duan Ling Tian could clearly see. Above his head, the clouds in all directions moved. Dark clouds appeared one after another, and their colors became increasingly dark. Purple electric snakes could be vaguely seen moving within, giving people a hair-raising feeling. If one took a closer look, they would discover that the purple electric serpents were actually bolts of purple lightning that were coiling around the dark clouds that were becoming darker and darker in color. This is a heavenly tribulation? The scene before his eyes reminded Duan Ling Tian of the heavenly tribulation he had overcome when he was still on the mortal continent. At that time, the heavenly tribulation he underwent was called the 6-9 heavenly tribulation. The 6-9 heavenly tribulation was the heavenly tribulation that every powerhouse at the peak of the nascent soul stage had to face after breaking through to the void stage. Once one entered the void stage, one would be able to fly. To a certain extent, it was considered heaven-defying. Therefore, the heavens would send the heavenly tribulation as punishment. In the mundane realm, there are 3 types of heavenly tribulation. The first type is the 6-9 heavenly tribulation that one would have to face after breaking through to the void stage. The second type is the 9-9 heavenly tribulation that one would have to face after breaking through to the void stage. As for the third type, it's the celestial ascension tribulation that one would have to face after breaking through to the 9th form of the saint celestial stage. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself, "Don't tell me this is the heavenly tribulation that I've attracted after breaking through to the 7th form of the saint celestial stage, the heaven-defying form? After all, after breaking through to the 7th form of the saint celestial stage, the heaven-defying form, one's lifespan would be as long as heaven and earth. It's also heaven-defying." Duan Ling Tian dismissed this thought as soon as it appeared in his mind. After all, it was impossible. If the 7th form of the saint celestial stage would attract the heavenly tribulation, it's impossible that I don't know about it. Not only did I not hear about it, but I didn't know about it as well. I didn't even know about it through shortcuts. However, if it's not because I've broken through to the 7th form of the saint celestial stage, what is it? Chapter 2261. Boom, 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 boom. Duan Ling Tian was still puzzled when a deafening clap of thunder resonated in the sky above him. Within Duan Ling Tian's line of sight, dark clouds had already gathered high up in the sky. It gave off a feeling as though the dark clouds were pressing down on the city, and it was about to fall. It was as though the end of the world had arrived. Purple lightning bolts flashed in the dark clouds. Not only were there more and more of them, but they seemed to have become thicker as well. If the purple lightning bolts from before were like little purple snakes, they were now like little purple snakes. However, the purple lightning bolts now were like thick purple pythons. These purple pythons rolled around in the dark clouds. They would flash from time to time, and the purple light would shine so brightly that it was blinding. This heavenly tribulation seems to be quite powerful. Although the heavenly tribulation had yet to take form, Duan Ling Tian could clearly sense how terrifying it was. It was much more powerful than the 6-9 heavenly tribulation he had experienced in the past. If they were to compare, the difference would be like heaven and earth. It was like heaven and earth. If it's not because of my cultivation base at the 7th form of the saint celestial stage that attracted the heavenly tribulation, there's only one possibility. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian had a flash of inspiration in his mind. Black innate spiritual root. Duan Ling Tian remembered the heavenly tribulation had appeared when he tried to sense and absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy, after his innate spiritual root had transformed into a black innate spiritual root. Perhaps this was not a coincidence. A black innate spiritual root can be considered as a heaven-defying innate spiritual root. It must be because my innate spiritual root has transformed into a black innate spiritual root that the heavens sent the heavenly tribulation. The more Duan Ling Tian thought about it, the more certain he became. At the same time, Duan Lingtian put away the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal tablet, that was still hovering in the air. He looked at the dark clouds in the sky that were still growing, and the lightning bolts that looked like purple pythons. I wonder, how powerful is this heavenly tribulation? In the face of the impending heavenly tribulation, Duan Lingtian's expression couldn't help but turn solemn. After all, the power of the heavenly tribulation that was brewing in front of him was unknown. The unknown was also the scariest. As Duan Lingtian waited anxiously, the heavenly tribulation that came out of nowhere finally finished brewing. Of course, it was not that Duan Lingtian was looking for trouble and waiting for the heavenly tribulation to take shape. It was just that no matter where he went now, the tribulation clouds that were brewing the heavenly tribulation in the sky would follow him. He tried to run away, but he couldn't. Therefore, he could only wait patiently for the heavenly tribulation to take shape. After the heavenly tribulation was formed, the number of tribulation clouds in the sky did not continue to increase. However, the bolts of lightning that kept rolling around the tribulation clouds like purple pythons seemed to be getting more and more violent. Boom, 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 boom. At the same time, the sound of thunder that Duan Lingtian had never heard before became more frequent. In the end, the frequency of the thunder was almost comparable to the frequency of firecrackers. It's coming. After about 15 minutes, Duan Lingtian, who had his eyes fixed on the tribulation clouds in the sky, felt a jolt in his heart. At the same time, his eyes could not help but narrow. Almost as soon as the thought appeared in his mind, the heavenly tribulation that had been brewing for a long time finally opened its mouth and bared its fangs. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion resounded in the sky and reverberated between heaven and earth. It sounded like the roar of the thunder god. The earth seemed to tremble violently, as if it had triggered an earthquake. Whoosh! Along with the explosion, a purple lightning bolt that was as thick as a child's body appeared. When the lightning bolt struck, it locked onto Duan Lingtian. The heavenly tribulation had officially arrived. Elementary devouring tactic. Golden crow's wings. Faced with the first tribulation lightning, Duan Lingtian, naturally, did not sit there and wait for his death. He quickly cast a few techniques. After casting the assist-type divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to raise his Sun Saint origin to the level of a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, Duan Lingtian cast his movement divine ability, the Golden Crow's Wings, in an attempt to dodge the tribulation lightning. Although the tribulation lightning did not give him a sense of danger, he was more than willing to dodge it if he could. As someone who had undergone the 6-9 heavenly tribulation before, Duan Lingtian, naturally, knew the tribulation lightning of the heavenly tribulation was more powerful than the previous one. If he could preserve his strength, he would be more than happy to deal with the tribulation lightning later on. In comparison, the consumption of Saint Origin, by using his movement divine ability, was not as much as attacking directly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Duan Lingtian, who had activated his movement divine ability, the Golden Crow's Wings, seemed to have transformed into a swift and agile bird, as he constantly flew in the air to avoid the tribulation lightning that was surging toward him. However, that tribulation lightning seemed to have grown eyes. No matter where Duan Lingtian went, it would chase after him. It was as though it would not give up until it caught up to him. It seems like I can't dodge it. At this moment, Duan Lingtian realized it was impossible for him to avoid the tribulation lightning, so he decided to stop moving and dodging. After stopping, Duan Lingtian raised his hand as his Sun Saint origin surged and condensed. Finally, it transformed into a 3-foot-long sword ray. Sword-wielding technique. As soon as the 3-foot-long sword ray was formed, Duan Lingtian casually tossed it out. It left a sword mark in the air before it disappeared without a trace. Swoosh! The brief howl of the sword resounded out abruptly, and then a sword light tore through the sky and moved to greet the tribulation lightning that approached menacingly. Whoosh! 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 When the sword ray collided with the tribulation lightning, it did not make a loud noise. However, The sound of friction between the two forces was enough to hurt one's eardrums. There was no doubt the tribulation lightning was powerful. Although this was only the first tribulation lightning that Duan Lingtian was facing, it was not weak at all. It was not any weaker than the full-force attack of a martial cultivator at the sixth form of the Saint Celestial stage. However, the full-force attack of a martial cultivator at the sixth form of the Saint Celestial stage was nothing compared to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian merely formed a 3-foot-long sword ray with his Sun Saint origin and activated the third stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the sword wielding the heart, and easily destroyed the tribulation lightning. The sword beam pierced through the sky, piercing through the tribulation lightning from head to toe and destroying it. The first tribulation lightning was destroyed. Although Duan Lingtian managed to withstand the first tribulation lightning, he did not feel happy at all. Instead, his expression turned even grimmer. The first tribulation lightning is already so powerful. It's comparable to the full-force attack of a martial cultivator at the sixth form of the Saint Celestial stage. The second tribulation lightning is comparable to the attack of a martial cultivator at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage. These are only the first two tribulation lightning. The subsequent tribulation lightning will only get stronger. Will I be able to withstand it in the end? When Duan Lingtian thought of this, not only did he have a solemn expression on his face, but even his eyes were filled with worry. Boom, 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 boom. Thunder continued to rumble in the sky, reverberating between heaven and earth. The commotion was extremely great. Boom. Suddenly, another earth-shattering sound of thunder reverberated in the air. What followed was the second bolt of tribulation lightning. The second tribulation lightning was much thicker than the first tribulation lightning. The first tribulation lightning was as thick as a child's body. The second tribulation lightning was as thick as an adult woman's body. Whether it was in terms of strength or speed, it was much stronger than the first tribulation lightning. Sword-wielding technique. Duan Lingtian raised his hand and formed a 3-foot-long sword ray with his Sun Saint origin again. He used the same technique to attack the tribulation lightning. However, this time, his attack was evenly matched with the tribulation lightning. It was difficult to determine the outcome of the battle. In the end, Duan Lingtian's sword ray was exhausted. However, the tribulation lightning seemed to have endless energy as it continued to charge toward Duan Lingtian. The tribulation lightning was ferocious, as though it could destroy everything in the world. The strength of the second tribulation lightning is comparable to the full-force attack of an ordinary martial cultivator at the seventh form of the Saint Celestial stage. Duan Lingtian's expression turned even more solemn. Although he had only used his Sun Saint origin to deal with the tribulation lightning, his current Sun Saint origin was comparable to the Saint origin of a powerhouse at the eighth form of the Saint Celestial stage. Even so, he was still unable to block the second tribulation lightning. It was only natural that he had not used his full strength. However, the might of the second bolt of lightning still managed to shock him to a certain extent. Furthermore, it was quite a shock. Whoosh! Faced with the ferocious tribulation lightning, Duan Lingtian raised his hand. The Sun Saint origin in his body surged out through his 99 saint veins and formed a 3-foot-long sword ray again. Swoosh! Although it was the same technique as before, it seemed as though he had the help of the gods when he swung his sword. Whether it was its speed or its strength, it had increased by more than one level. Duan Lingtian had used his full strength. The outcome was different from before. This sword ray successfully destroyed the second tribulation lightning. After the second tribulation lightning, the third tribulation lightning struck. Chapter 2262. After the demons from the land of exile entered the Debussy subterranean, they would usually gather together and occupy an area as their own territory. In this territory, there were also places similar to gathering places. Take the Human Devil Saint City of the Human Devil clan for example. More than half of the Human Devil clan's experts were gathered there. The strongest forces of the Human Devil clan, the 3 palaces and 6 halls, were all in the Human Devil Saint City. It was the same for the Boar Demons. The gathering place of the Pig Demon clan was located in a vast valley. The three most powerful tribes of the Pig Demon clan were located in three different directions of the valley. The three most powerful tribes in the Boar Demon clan were the Black Boar tribe, the Thunder Boar tribe, and the Red Boar tribe. The Boar Demons of the Black Boar tribe had strong physical bodies and were skilled in hand-to-hand combat. The Boar Devils of the Thunder Boar tribe were not Dao cultivators due to their physiques, but they were able to summon heavenly lightning to assist them in battle. The Boar Devils of the Red Boar tribe knew how to go berserk. Once they went berserk, their blood would surge to the sky, and their bodies would turn red. The three strongest people in the Boar Devil clan, the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan, were from these three tribes. They were also the leaders of these three tribes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, three ear-piercing swishing noises burst out, breaking the silence of the Boar Demon clan. It was the Black Boar tribe, the Thunder Boar tribe, and the Red Boar tribe. Each of them had a figure breaking through the air. Their speed was so fast that it was like a ghost. They were heading toward the center of the Boar Devil clan's gathering place. That was where the great altar of the Boar Devil clan was located. Apart from the Human Devil clan, all the major devil clans had their own beliefs. Their faith was basically based on their ancestors. Moreover, no matter where the devil race moved to, they would build a large altar and carve a statue of their ancestor on the altar as a form of worship. The great altar of the Boar Devil clan occupied a vast area. There was another altar at the center of the great altar. A tall and burly figure stood on the altar in a bow stance. He held a trident in one hand, while his index and middle fingers pointed to the sky with the other hand. His eyes were cold as he stared at the sky. It was as though he was the ruler of the world with the trident in his hand. His head was a pig's head. Clearly, he was also a Boar Devil. He was the ancestor of the Boar Devil clan, the existence that the Boar Devil clan worshipped for generations. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the blink of an eye, three more figures appeared in the sky above the great altar, as three sonic booms approached from afar. The clan's Boar Devils. Boar Devil clan's Black was Black Boar of the Boar. Boar Devil clan of the Boar. Black Boar. Black was Boar. Black 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 Boar. Boar 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 of the Boar. Boar Devil. Boar Devil. Boar 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 Ar Boar. As the leader of the Black Boar tribe, his tan body was also filled with explosive muscles that seemed to contain endless power. The other figure had a medium build and fair skin. He also had the head of a pig and the body of a man. If one took a closer look, they would discover that there was a purple lightning mark on the Boar Devil's forehead. If one looked carefully and seriously, they would find that within this purple lightning mark, there were strands of purple light flickering. It was as if tiny bolts of purple lightning were moving rhythmically. The Boar Devil was the leader of the Boar Devil clan's Thunder Boar tribe. He was also one of the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan. It was worth mentioning that the chief of the Thunder Boar tribe was also holding a purple crutch. It was similar to the mirror image talisman in the human world. The formation was hidden in the statue of the Boar Devil clan's ancestor. It's the Human Devil clan. The three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan narrowed their eyes when they saw Duan Ling Tian. They were furious. How dare you? How dare you? The Human Devil clan dares to cause trouble in the territory of the Boar Devil clan? Damn it! Damn it! The Human Devil clan must give us an explanation for this. The three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were furious when they saw Duan Ling Tian. Something's not right. He doesn't seem to be a match for the three patriarchs. Could it be that they were killed by the Human Devil clan's powerhouses after he lured them away? The scene of Duan Ling Tian fleeing from the three great guardian warriors appeared in front of the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan. The chief of the Black Boar tribe frowned when he saw this. The other two patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were skeptical about this as well. The situation had taken a turn for the worse. After Duan Ling Tian raised his son Saint Origin to the level of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage with his assist-type divine ability, the three great guardian warriors were forced to defend themselves. Could it be that he was pretending to be weak from the beginning? Naturally, the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were shocked when they saw this. He's not pretending to be weak. He's stalling for time to raise his strength. Look at his Saint Origin. It's constantly increasing from the beginning until the moment he counterattacked. He must have cast some assist-type divine ability to raise his saint origin. Based on his saint origin, it shouldn't be any weaker than the saint origin of powerhouses, at the 9th form of the saint celestial stage. Soon after, the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan discovered this, as they discussed among themselves. Naturally, they were shocked when they discovered this. There's actually such an assist-type divine ability in this world? It's not that there's such an assist-type divine ability in this world, but when did the Human Devil clan have such a powerhouse? Although he's relying on his assist-type divine ability, his strength is not inferior to an ordinary powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Even so, it's impossible for him to kill the 3 of them. You have to know that even the 3 of us can't break through their defenses in a short period of time. That's right. With their defenses, they should be able to hold on until the effects of his assist-type divine ability wear off. While the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were puzzled, the scene before them changed a few times. In the end, they finally found out the truth. How did the 3 grandchildren of the patriarch of the Boar Devil clan die in the hands of this human devil brat? The Devil Seal Tablet. The Super Saint Weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. How did the Devil Seal Tablet end up in the hands of a human devil brat? Even if he's from the Wandering Saint Palace, and doesn't have the bloodline of the devil clans, he's still a devil cultivator. Just like the devil clans, devil cultivators can't use the Devil Seal Tablet. Did we make a mistake from the beginning? Perhaps he's not a human devil from the Human Devil clan, but a human from the Saint Province realm. Human? That's right. He must be a human. He must be a human. Chapter 2263. The 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan knew a lot about the Super Saint Weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. Perhaps more than 90% of the demons thought that the Devil Seal Tombstone was a 10,000 inscription saint artifact inscribed by a human celestial grade saint inscription master tens of thousands of years ago. However, they were 100% certain the Devil Seal Tombstone was definitely not a super saint artifact inscribed by a human immortal grade saint inscription master. This was because during the end of the Human Devil era, the Devil Seal Tablet had appeared in a domineering manner and killed many powerhouses from the devil clans and devil cultivators. The souls of the devils and devil cultivators with weaker cultivations were directly destroyed, while the souls of those with stronger cultivations were suppressed and sealed by the Devil Seal Tombstone. Even among the demons, not many knew about this secret. However, this secret was passed down from generation to generation in the Boar Devil clan. It was passed down by the patriarch through word of mouth. That human celestial grade saint inscription master is merely a weakling who hasn't even broken through to the 7th form of the saint celestial stage. How can he inscribe a super saint weapon that can kill eminent celestials? Whenever the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan heard their clansmen talking about how the Super Saint Weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, was forged by a human celestial grade saint inscription master, they scoffed at their clansmen's words. However, this was a secret that had been passed down from generation to generation in the Boar Devil clan, so they did not dare to reveal it to anyone. Even if this matter was leaked, it wouldn't have any substantial impact on the Boar Demon clan. However, a secret was a secret. How could a secret passed down by their ancestors be leaked so easily? In a sense, the Devil Seal Tablet can be considered as the first super saint weapon in the Saint Province realm. As for the 9-10,000 inscription saint weapons, they must have been created by that human celestial grade saint inscription master. This was the conjecture of the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan. However, what they didn't know was that even the other 9 super saint weapons were not created by the human celestial grade saint inscription master. As for the other 9 super saint weapons, the super saint sword, the 9-cloud sword, was created by the sword Saint Feng Qingyang from 100,000 years ago. The reason the human celestial grade saint inscription master was able to inscribe the other 8 super saint weapons was because of the 9-cloud sword. The Devil Seal Tablet can help a person enter the devil path and become a devil cultivator. However, it's impossible for a devil clansman or devil cultivator to control it, let alone use it against an enemy. The three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan knew a lot about the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. Naturally, they did not think the purple-clad young man in the mirror image was a devil cultivator from the human devil clan, who had entered the devil path through the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. Because it was impossible. Based on what they knew, the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, had appeared many times before they invaded the Saint Province realm. In that case, there was only one possibility. The purple-clothed young man in the mirror image before him was a powerhouse among humans. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew past, and the mirror image disappeared after the three great guardian warriors from the Boar Devil clan were killed. Didn't they say that after the Dao Martial Saint land of the Saint Province realm was split into two, there were no more powerhouses at the Saint Celestial stage in the lower province? How did such a variable appear? Moreover, he has the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. The chief of the Black Boar tribe said with a grave expression on his face. It's not just that. When the human devil clan's vanguard arrived, it seemed like they wanted to conquer the quasi-third-rate force, the Azure Cloud Mansion, in the Debussy subterranean. In the end, more than half of their people died, and many were injured. It's said that the two people who attacked them were devil cultivators at the Saint Celestial stage. The chief of the Thunder Boar tribe said, apart from the two powerhouses from the Azure Cloud Mansion, there's also a rumor that a mad sword devil appeared in the northern part of the Debussy subterranean. Moreover, several devil clans' powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage were killed by him. The chief of the Red Boar tribe said, it's said that the Mad Sword Devil is a human devil cultivator. Moreover, the sword in his hand seems to be the famous super saint weapon, the Traceless Sword, on the 10 great saint weapons ranking in the Saint Province realm. I've heard of the Mad Sword Devil as well. It's said that he's not normal at all. When he's normal, he calls himself Suli. When he's not normal, he'll kill without hesitation. The chief of the Thunder Boar tribe said, the Mad Sword Devil, Suli, is much stronger than the two devil cultivators at the Saint Celestial stage from the Azure Cloud Mansion. I think he's at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, the chief of the Black Boar tribe said solemnly. Upon hearing this, the chiefs of the Red Boar tribe and the Thunder Boar tribe nodded in agreement. However, the most terrifying person is the purple-clad young man who appeared in the mirror image earlier. Perhaps he's not much stronger than the Mad Sword Devil, Suli, but he has the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. The chief of the Thunder Boar tribe said solemnly, the Devil Seal Tablet is the bane of our devil clans, let alone the three grandsons of the old patriarch. Even if the three of us join forces, we might not be able to kill the purple-clad young man. That's right. The chief of the Red Boar tribe sighed. Originally, we should go and collect their corpses. However, we're afraid of the purple-clad young man, who possesses the Devil Seal Tablet. That's why we don't dare to go over recklessly. Although the chief of the Black Boar tribe did not say anything, based on his grim expression, one could see he was also afraid of the purple-clad young man. However, the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were unaware that the Devil Seal Tablet was incomplete. Currently, the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, was incomplete. It might not even be able to kill devils at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage like them. However, even if they knew, they wouldn't dare to take the risk. After all, the super saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, had killed many eminent celestials in the devil clans and devil cultivators during the human devil era. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian was completely unaware that the situation had changed. The three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan were aware of his existence and confirmed his identity as a human. It was to the extent that he was lucky enough to escape the calamity. After all, if the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan joined forces, even Duan Ling Tian would not be able to kill a devil powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage with the incomplete Devil Seal Tablet. It would be fine if he could kill them, but if he couldn't, the one who would die in the end would be him. This was because the three patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan had found out about the death of the three great guardian warriors the moment Duan Lingtian killed them. They immediately gathered near the statue of the Boar Devil clan's ancestor at the Great Altar. For this reason, when they saw the mirror image of Duan Lingtian killing the three great guardian warriors, they sighed in awe and fear. Duan Lingtian had just withstood the fourth bolt of lightning from the heavenly tribulation. After the fourth bolt of lightning, the fifth bolt of lightning struck. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion reverberated in the air as the fifth tribulation lightning struck. It locked onto Duan Lingtian and charged toward him, as though it was maggots that had attached itself to his bones. The strength of the fifth bolt of lightning was comparable to the full force attack of an ordinary powerhouse at the ninth form of the Saint Celestial stage. For this reason, even Duan Lingtian did not dare to be careless. He was even more cautious than when he was fighting the three great guardian warriors. Crack! 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 As the muscles on Duan Lingtian's body bulged and were covered with a layer of dragon scales, his robe was torn apart, revealing his humanoid dragon body. At this moment, Duan Lingtian had officially transformed into a nine-clawed dragon warrior. After transforming into a nine-clawed dragon warrior, Duan Lingtian's physical strength was much stronger than before. Of course, even though it couldn't be compared to before, the improvement wasn't too exaggerated. At the very least, it was not exaggerated to the extent that Duan Lingtian would be able to break through the defenses of the three great guardian warriors if he had transformed into a nine-clawed dragon warrior. Previously, Duan Lingtian had not transformed into a nine-clawed dragon warrior and attacked with all his might. He had already determined that even if he transformed into a nine-clawed dragon warrior, he would not be able to break through the defenses of the three great guardian warriors in a short time. For this reason, he did not transform into a nine-clawed dragon warrior. Naturally, the most important reason was because he possessed the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet. If he did not have the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, he might have transformed into a nine-clawed dragon warrior to test his theory. Since he had the Super Saint weapon, the Devil Seal Tablet, there was no need for him to test his theory. Let's not talk about how powerful the last heavenly tribulation is. I'll just have to deal with the fifth heavenly tribulation first. After transforming into a nine-clawed dragon warrior, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and cast aside all distracting thoughts before he made his move. In an instant, the pair of flaming wings on his back flapped violently. Boom! 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 A series of explosions rang in the air as Duan Lingtian took a few steps back. At the same time, Duan Lingtian took out his 1,000 inscription Saint Sword and cast the divine ability, the otherworldly celestial, using the third stage of the Sovereign Heart Sword, the sword wielding with the heart. Chapter 2264. Destroy. Duan Lingtian's voice reverberated in the air like a thunderclap. It was deafening. Almost as soon as his voice left his mouth, the main body of the 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword was like a bolt of lightning that swept across the sky. It charged toward the fifth tribulation lightning with an unstoppable force. Before this, the fifth tribulation lightning had already depleted a portion of its energy due to the 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword's clone. Before the tribulation clouds in the sky could replenish its energy, Duan Lingtian activated the main body of the 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword. As the sword ray shot out, it collided with the fifth tribulation lightning. Instantly, chi, 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 chi. The sound of friction between energy reverberated in the air. Duan Lingtian activated the 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword with the Imperial Sword technique, and the fifth tribulation lightning began a fierce battle. Golden Crow's wings. During the battle, Duan Lingtian did not stay idle. With a swift movement, he charged toward the tribulation lightning. Whoosh! 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 The sound of sword whistling reverberated in the air. Duan Lingtian made his move again at lightning speed. He blocked the energy from the tribulation clouds that were about to reach the fifth tribulation lightning. At the same time, Duan Lingtian cast his strongest attack, with the 1,000 inscriptions saint sword that was controlled by the sword-wielding art, and the fifth tribulation lightning. At this moment, the battle had reached its climax. Boom, 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 boom. After the sound of friction between energy reverberated in the air, earth-shattering explosions reverberated in the air. It even drowned out the rumbling of thunder in the sky. After a series of earth-shattering explosions, a terrifying shockwave swept out in all directions. Some of the shockwaves collided with each other, and even created mushroom clouds that could be seen clearly. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. At the same time in the void, a strong wind swept in all directions, directly uprooting the flowers and trees in the huge valley. The scene looked very chaotic. The huge valley looked as if it had just been robbed. Finally, the gale lasted for about 5 to 6 breaths of time before calming down. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. In the end, he successfully withstood the fifth tribulation lightning. Boom, 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 boom. Just as Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief, the sound of thunder continued to ring in his ears. It was as if it was reminding him that the heavenly tribulation was not over yet, and that the sixth bolt of tribulation lightning was about to descend. Immediately, Duan Lingtian shuddered and came back to his senses. His expression, which had just relaxed, tightened once more, as if he was facing a great enemy. If the fifth tribulation lightning is already so terrifying, then the sixth tribulation lightning will definitely be even more terrifying. How am I supposed to defend myself now? Looking at the tribulation clouds flashing in the sky, Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with bitterness. Just as Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with bitterness, and even a faint trace of despair, he, who had been watching the changes in the tribulation clouds in the sky, suddenly seemed to have discovered something. His pupils shrank, and the solemn look on his face disappeared, replaced by a look of shock. This was because, just as Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with despair, the tribulation clouds in the sky began to disperse gradually. The sound of thunder, which was still ringing in the sky, gradually became softer and softer. In the end, it completely disappeared. The scene in front of him made Duan Lingtian unable to come back to his senses for a long time. This was because everything in front of him had happened too suddenly. The heavenly tribulation actually ended just like that. The heavenly tribulation he faced today was only 5 bolts of tribulation lightning. After about a dozen breaths, Duan Lingtian finally regained his senses. When he regained his senses, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Fear still lingered in his heart. What a false alarm. I didn't expect there to only be 5 bolts of tribulation lightning in the tribulation clouds. Fortunately, there were only 5 bolts of tribulation lightning. Otherwise, let alone the remaining bolts of tribulation lightning, even the 6th bolt of tribulation lightning would be enough to kill me. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. At this moment, Duan Lingtian could only rejoice in his heart. Even if there were 6 bolts of tribulation lightning in the tribulation clouds today, he would definitely die. Fortunately, there were only 5 bolts of tribulation lightning in the tribulation clouds today, allowing him to pass through it successfully. If this heavenly tribulation is really caused by my innate spiritual root transforming into a black innate spiritual root, then the danger I have to face after my innate spiritual root has transformed into a black innate spiritual root is too terrifying, right? Duan Lingtian's heart sank when he thought about this. Based on the heavenly tribulation earlier, if one's cultivation base hasn't broken through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, one wouldn't be able to pass through it. Initially, I planned to help Kerr improve her innate spiritual root to a black innate spiritual root after my innate spiritual root has transformed into a black innate spiritual root. However, it seems like I can't rush it now. Otherwise, I'll only put Kerr in danger. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also realized that there was no other choice. Even if he wanted to help his wife, Kerr, improve her innate spiritual root, he would have to wait until Kerr was strong enough to pass through the heavenly tribulation earlier. Otherwise, it would only put Kerr in danger. However, Sealing also has a black innate spiritual root. Why didn't she attract the heavenly tribulation when she cultivated? Hmm. It must be because she was born with a black innate spiritual root, that she didn't attract the heavenly tribulation. It was not difficult for Duan Lingtian to figure this out. Now that I can sense and absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy with the black innate spiritual root, I shouldn't attract the heavenly tribulation anymore, right? Duan Lingtian shook his head with a smile on his face as he tried to sense and absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy again. The heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings stirred and surged toward Duan Lingtian at an extremely fast speed before it merged with Duan Lingtian's body. After Duan Lingtian cast the cultivation method, the 9 dragons wore sovereign technique and guided the heaven and earth spirit energy to circulate in his body. The heaven and earth spirit energy became a part of his saint origin. How fast? Duan Lingtian suddenly opened his eyes with an excited expression on his face. My current cultivation speed is more than 10 times faster than before. It's even faster than when I was in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, with the help of the 4th level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. After testing out his current cultivation speed, Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with astonishment. After the initial shock, he was pleasantly surprised. With the help of his black innate spiritual root, his cultivation speed in the Wuxia subterranean was much faster than when he was in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land, with the help of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. What did this mean? This meant his cultivation speed was on a completely different level from before. When I was still in the upper province, I was in the pseudo-realm left behind by the 3 eminent devils. With the help of the time flow in the 4th level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, I spent 3 years in the outside world to raise my cultivation base to the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage. If I had my current innate talent back then, I'm afraid it would only take me about 2 years to raise my cultivation speed in the lower province. After all, the cultivation environment in the Wuxia subterranean was far inferior to the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. However, based on Duan Lingtian's innate talent, he was confident he would be able to catch up to the time he spent in the 4th level of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda, and 3 years of hard work in the outside world in just 2 years. In other words, currently, Duan Lingtian's cultivation speed in the lower province was much faster than when he was in the upper province with the help of the 7 Treasures Exquisite Pagoda. No wonder I attracted the heavenly tribulation. The black innate spiritual root is really heaven-defying. Duan Lingtian could not help but gasp when he thought of this. With my current innate talent, I should be able to break through to the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage within a year if I cultivate in the Human Devil Saint City. I should be able to break through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage within 3 years. Duan Lingtian was filled with confidence. His confidence stemmed from the fact that he possessed the black innate spiritual root, the limit of the innate spiritual root. This is the Human Devil Saint City in the lower province. If I cultivate in the upper province, I'm confident I'll be able to break through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage within a year with the cultivation environment there. Duan Lingtian was filled with excitement when he thought of this. When he had just broken through to the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he was confident he would be able to break through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage within a year with the help of the black innate spiritual root. What did this mean? With Si Ling's innate talent, even if her innate spiritual root doesn't shine brightly in the beginning, her cultivation speed will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. Even in the end, her cultivation speed won't slow down due to the increase in her cultivation base. Even if there are many bottlenecks along the way, I'm sure she'll be able to break through the bottlenecks easily. As for the extra time it takes, it's nothing compared to the time it takes for ordinary people to break through. Duan Lingtian could not help but look forward to his daughter's improvement in her cultivation base. After all, his daughter was a monstrous genius who was born with a black innate spiritual root. It's time for me to return to the Wandering Saint Palace in the Human Devil Clan's 3 palaces and 6 halls. Duan Lingtian thought to himself as he left the Boar Devil Clan's territory, where the 3 great guardian warriors cultivated. However, he was unaware that he had already left the human devil Saint City. His identity as a human had been exposed to the 3 patriarchs of the Boar Devil clan. It would not take long. Chapter 2265. After Duan Lingtian left the Boar Devil clan's territory and returned to the Human Devil clan's territory, he made his way to the Human Devil Saint City. Boom, 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 boom. A series of earth-shattering noises could be heard coming from a barren mountain in the northwestern part of the Debussy subterranean. Along with the loud noise, there was also a vast amount of energy that shook the barren mountain. Dust and sand filled the air, obstructing one's vision. If one looked up, they would be able to see. High up in the sky, there were 4 figures fighting. Among the 4 figures, 3 of them were very short and small. They looked like 3 human children, about 8 or 9 years old. 2 of the children were girls, and 1 was a boy. The 2 little girls looked like they were carved from jade, and were very cute. One was dressed in white, and the other was dressed in gold. The remaining little boy had a cold expression on his face, but he was dressed in black, which matched his temperament very well. At this moment, the 3 children were fighting with a humongous figure. This was a gigantic creature with a sturdy and tall body. It stood there like a small mountain. In front of it, the 3 children appeared very small like ants. The humongous figure had a human-like body, but its head was that of a huge ox. It was a member of the Ox Devil clan from the land of exile. It was a bona fide ox devil. If we don't revert to our true forms, it'll be difficult for us to kill him. The white-clad little girl was like a little fairy as she spoke to the gold-clad little girl and the black-clad little boy through voice transmission. Her voice was soft and pleasant. Based on her words, one could tell she was not a human. Whether it was her, the gold-clad little girl, or the black-clad little boy, none of them were human. Let's try again. If we really can't do it, we'll revert to our true forms and kill him. The gold-clad little girl said through voice transmission. Unlike the fairy-like white-clothed little girl, the golden-clothed little girl's personality was a little jumpy. And the moment she opened her mouth, she said, "Fuck." As for the little boy in black, he did not utter a word. However, his eyes turned increasingly cold as he looked at Nyoemo 3 soft and tender little things. "Today, I, your grandpa ox, am going to eat you," Bull Demon said with a sinister smile as he stared at the 3 children in front of him, like an eagle catching chicks in its claws. "Humph. If you want to eat us, we'll have to see if you have the ability." The little girl in gold snorted coldly and said disdainfully, Good, very good. Since you want to see Grandpa Nyo's abilities so much, Grandpa Nyo will let you have a good look." The Bull Demon was enraged by the little girl's provocation. With a loud roar, the Saint Chi in his body soared, and his demon Chi soared into the sky, as if it could break through the heavens. Even the little girl's expression turned grim when she saw how enraged the Bull Demon was, and how he was unleashing all of his power without holding back. The white-clothed little girl was the same. The black-clad little boy was the only one who did not seem to be affected by the Bull Devil's outburst. His expression was still as cold as before. Boom! Just as the Bull Demon's huge body trembled, and a deafening explosion sounded in the air, he was about to attack the 3 children. Whoosh! As though a gust of wind had blown past, a sinister and cold aura swept across the area in just a blink of an eye. Not only did the 3 children's expressions change, but even the Bull Demon's body stiffened. Although the sinister and cold aura was not targeted at them, it still sent chills down their spines. For a moment, whether it was the 3 children or the enormous ox demon, they all tacitly stopped their confrontation and looked towards the source of the wind sound. When they looked in the direction of the sound, a figure appeared in front of them. It was a young man dressed in blood-red robes. His face was as sharp as a knife, and his messy hair was draped over his shoulders and back. He was holding a simple and unadorned 3-foot-long sword in his hand. The most eye-catching thing about him was his eyes, that seemed to be glowing with blood. It sent chills down the spines of those who looked at him. His robes seemed to be stained with blood. The little girl in gold gulped as she muttered to herself. Her voice was filled with dread. "What do you think?" At the same time, the little girl in gold asked her 2 companions. However, both of them ignored her. little white. She could understand if the little boy in black ignored her. However, the little girl in white ignored her. She could not help but look at the little girl in white with a confused expression on her face. When she looked at the little girl in white, she saw the little girl in white staring at the young man in blood-red robes in a daze. She glanced at the little boy in black and discovered he was also staring at the young man in blood-red robes in a daze. Furthermore, the meaning behind their gazes was almost the same. There was doubt, hesitation, and disbelief in their eyes. What are you doing? Seeing this scene, the golden-clothed little girl was stunned. Don't tell me you know him. Suli. Almost as soon as the golden-clothed little girl finished speaking, two exclamations sounded in unison. The little girl in white and the little boy in black, who were staring at the young man in blood-red robes, spoke. Suli? This name sounds familiar. I think I've heard of it somewhere before. The little girl in gold frowned and muttered to herself in confusion when she heard her companion's cries. Suli! Suli! When the young man in the blood-stained robe heard someone calling out Suli's name, he immediately looked at the white-clad little girl and the black-clad little boy. The bloody light in his eyes dimmed slightly. My name is Suli? The young man in blood-red robes asked before he muttered to himself. I think my name is Suli. He's Suli, Brother Ling Tian's friend from the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Paladin Academy. But how did he become like this? The little girl in white stared at the young man in blood-red robes in disbelief. Her eyes were filled with confusion. Although the young man in blood-red robes had lost some of his childishness, his overall appearance did not change much. Therefore, she recognized him with just a glance. He seems to be delirious. The little boy in black said with a solemn expression. The little girl in white and the little boy in black were the two little pythons by Duan Lingtian's side, Little White and Little Black. Back then, when Duan Lingtian entered the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Paladin Academy, they had hidden in Duan Lingtian's sleeve. Therefore, they knew very well who Duan Lingtian was with. Suli was a friend that Duan Lingtian had made at that time. Whether it was Little White or Little Black, both of them had a deep impression of Suli. Therefore, they recognized him immediately. Suli, Brother Lingtian's friend? At this moment, the little girl in gold regained her senses when she heard Little White and Little Black's words. She looked at the young man in blood-red robes nearby and muttered, It can't be. He's Brother Lingtian's friend Suli? Why is he here? Moreover, he seems to be much stronger than us. A shocked expression appeared on the little girl's face when she reached the end of her sentence. The little girl in gold was none other than the jade-eyed heavenly mouse, Little Gold, who had followed Duan Lingtian for a long time. She, Little Black, and Little White were originally brought to the upper province by Han Xuanai to be with the people from the Seven Absolute sect. However, they were sent back to the Debussy Subterranean by Yu Wuing, the successor of the Dark Shadow progeny, the fourth absolute of the Seven Absolute sect, by the Oracle Man Suli. At the same time, horror dawned on the bull demon who was nearby when he heard the name. He looked at Suli in horror. You're the mad sword demon, Suli? Ox demon glanced at the simple and unadorned 3-foot-long sword in Suli's hand, and his expression abruptly changed. Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black were wondering why the bull demon reacted like a mouse when he heard Suli's name. Boom! A loud explosion reverberated in the air. The bull demon's saint origin surged again, and his devil chi soared into the sky. However, his next action stunned Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black. Whoosh! The sound of wind whistling rang in the air. The bull demon had unleashed all his energy and fled into the distance. He was in a wretched state. He looked even more wretched than a mouse when it saw a cat. Almost at the same time that the ox demon fled, the blood-red light in Suli's eyes, which had dimmed a little, suddenly surged once more. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and Suli disappeared from his spot. In the next moment, Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black saw Suli disappear from their sight. When Suli disappeared, he reappeared in the path of the bull devil, as if he had teleported. He's so powerful. Naturally, they knew Suli did not really know how to teleport. It was just that his speed was so fast that they could not capture his movements with their naked eyes. This was enough to prove that Su Li was not weak at all. Su Li's strength was far above theirs. What fortuitous encounter did Su Li have? His current strength. How can he be so strong? At this moment, Little Black could no longer maintain his cool composure. His face was filled with shock. Swoosh! The sound of a sword whistling rang in the air. Under Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black's gazes, the bull demon was cut into two by Su Li's sword. It died in just a blink of an eye. Immediately, the three of them could not help but inwardly suck in a breath of cold air. Whoosh! Whoosh! At this moment, Su Li vanished from his spot again. When he reappeared, he was standing in front of Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black. He was glaring at them fiercely. Chapter 2266. At this moment, Su Li's eyes were filled with killing intent as he looked at Xiao He, Xiao Bai, and Xiao Jin. Vast and majestic Saint Origin was on the verge of bursting out of his body. Devil Chi soared into the sky, as though it had transformed into a gigantic sword that enveloped his entire body. It emitted waves of cold and sharp aura. In an instant, Xiao He and the other two regained their senses, and their expressions changed drastically. At this moment, they naturally realized the danger that was close at hand. Hey, Su Li, your brother Ling Tian's friend. You can't kill us. Feeling the rising killing intent on Su Li's body, and realizing that Su Li could kill them at any time, Xiao Jin immediately spoke to Su Li in a panic. It was as though she was afraid that Su Li would kill them, because he did not know about their relationship with Duan Ling Tian. Brother Ling Tian? Ling Tian? When Su Li heard Xiao Jin's words, the killing intent on his body paused again, as he muttered in a low voice. At the same time, the bloody light in his eyes dimmed a little. It was as though the two words Ling Tian had some special and magical power. However, the bloody light in Su Li's eyes only dimmed for a moment before it surged again. The killing intent on his body that had slowed down rose again, and it was even stronger than before. Su Li, our brother Ling Tian is called Duan Ling Tian. He's your friend. Could it be that you've forgotten about him? Back then in the Crimson Sky Kingdom, in Paladin Academy, all of you were good friends. Have you forgotten all of this? Xiao Bai hurriedly added when she saw Su Li seem to have lost his mind again. Based on the situation earlier, she could tell that Su Li still remembered Su Li. She could tell that Su Li still remembered her brother Ling Tian. Of course, although she could tell, she was still slightly perturbed in her heart. She was deeply afraid that Su Li would really kill them. If Su Li really wanted to kill them, even if the three of them transformed into their true forms, it would still be difficult for them to escape death. Now, she only hoped that Su Li would be able to think of her big brother Ling Tian in time. And for the sake of her big brother Ling Tian, he wouldn't kill them. Otherwise, they would be doomed today. At this moment, whether it was Little White, Little Gold, or Little Black, they all saw that there was something wrong with Su Li. At the very least, when the bloody light in his eyes surged, he had completely lost his mind. Su Li, whose eyes were brimming with blood-red light, did not seem like a human to the three of them. He seemed more like a devil. Moreover, it was the kind of devil that had gone mad and lost his mind. Hearing what Little White said to Su Li, both Little Gold and Little Black looked at Su Li with serious expressions. At this time, they could only pray in their hearts. Hopefully, Su Li would remember their big brother Ling Tian. Otherwise, it was very likely that they would really die here today. At this moment, they were somewhat regretful. If they had known Su Li would suddenly attack them, they would not have played with the Bull Devil earlier. Although they did not dare to say they could kill the Bull Devil in their true forms, it was still easy for them to escape unscathed from the Bull Devil. This time, they had completely lost their minds. If they were lucky enough to survive today, they would not dare to play with the Bull Devil again, even if they were beaten to death. Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian, Duan Ling Tian, Crimson Sky Kingdom, Paladin Academy. Upon hearing Little White's words, the bloody light in Su Li's eyes that had just surged dimmed again. Moreover, the speed at which it dimmed this time was very fast. After a while, it had almost completely disappeared. As it turned out, Little White's words were effective. After the bloody light in his eyes faded, Su Li shook his slightly dizzy head, and looked at the three little fellows in front of him. All of you, you know Duan Lingtian? You even know about the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Paladin Academy? At this moment, Suli had regained his senses. However, he did not recognize Little Gold, Little White and Little Black. He's our big brother Lingtian. Of course we know him. Little Gold said matter-of-factly. I even heard him talk about you. All of you seem to have met each other in the Genius Camp of the Crimson Sky Kingdom, right? Genius Camp. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Suli's body trembled slightly. It was as though he had returned to his youth many years ago. The first time he met Duan Lingtian was in the Iron Blood Army's camp in the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Iron Blood City. At that time, all of them had participated in the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp's assessment. At that time, the scene of Duan Lingtian making a move was still vivid in Suli's mind. The purple-clad young man's body was as agile as a snake. He swung his arm like a python swinging its tail, and easily sent his opponent flying. He had passed the assessment. Su. Just as Little White was about to say something to Suli, she was interrupted by Suli. No. Suli's body trembled violently. His eyes that had returned to normal shone with a crimson light again. He roared with a ferocious expression on his face. He clenched his teeth, as though he was resisting something. Oh no! When Little White and the other two saw the crimson light in Suli's eyes, horror dawned on their faces. I won't let you have your way again. When the crimson light in Suli's eyes flickered, he roared again. The saint origin in his body surged out like a raging dragon. The devil chi skyrocketed. It made Suli look like a peerless devil god. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. When Little White and the other two were horrified, Suli raised his hand. The super saint weapon, the traceless sword, in his hand had already transformed into a sword ray that circled around his body. Its speed was getting faster and faster. Sword come. As Suli roared again, sword shadows appeared around his body. In the end, they transformed into hundreds and thousands of sword rays that hovered around his body without any pattern. Each of these sword rays exuded a sharp and terrifying aura. Moreover, they were intertwined with cold devil chi. At the same time, the crimson light in Suli's eyes skyrocketed again. Even if I, Suli, die, I won't let you hurt Duan Lingtian's friends. Suddenly, Suli roared again. Then he controlled the hundreds and thousands of sword rays around his body and charged toward Suli. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind. He could not kill Duan Lingtian's friends by mistake. In this world, there were not many people that Suli cared about. His master was one, and Duan Lingtian was another. He had already killed his master by mistake. However, he could not kill Duan Lingtian's friends by mistake. Otherwise, he would be too ashamed to face Duan Lingtian in his life. They wanted him to kill Duan Lingtian's friend? He would rather die. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Almost at the same time when Suli roared, the hundreds and thousands of sword rays that hovered around him seemed to have received an order that could not be disobeyed. They turned into a rain of swords and shot toward Suli. After Suli gave the order to the sword rays around him to kill him, the bloody light in his eyes rose again. Oomph! In an instant Suli's aura changed. It was as though he had become a different person. At the same time, the saint origin that was intertwined with devil chi on his body soared. He hastily cast a defensive technique, in an attempt to block the hundreds and thousands of sword rays that shot toward him. Unfortunately, because he was in too much of a hurry, his defense was also very weak. Although he managed to block a portion of the sword rays, a portion of the sword rays still penetrated his body after their strength was weakened, leaving bloody holes on his body. Nothing could surpass this. This scene caused Little White's expression to change drastically. She could not help but exclaim in shock. At the same time that she cried out in alarm, sparkling and translucent tears appeared in her eyes. Naturally, she could see Suli's intention for doing this. For this reason, she was so moved that tears filled her eyes. Suli, as for Little Gold and Little Black, they only realized Suli's intention when Suli injured himself to the point where he was riddled with holes. Their eyes turned red at once. Perhaps the pain on his body had stimulated Suli, causing the bloody light in his eyes to dim a little. At this moment, Suli seemed to have regained some of his rationality. Go! As blood flowed out of his body, Suli looked at Little White, and the other two with a pained expression on his face. It was as though he was using the last of his strength to ask them to leave. The moment his words left his mouth, the bloody light in his eyes soared again. His aura had changed again. The current Suli seemed to have transformed into a different person. He no longer gave up on himself. He immediately cast a technique to stop the blood from gushing out of the wounds on his body. However, it was difficult for the wounds to heal immediately. Apart from that, the aura on his body was extremely weak. It was as though anyone could kill him at this moment. The heavily injured Suli glanced at Little White, and the other two with bloody eyes. In the end, he seemed to have realized that he might not be able to kill the three of them if he made a move now. However, due to his heavy injuries, his speed was not fast. Now, I'm afraid even a devil would be able to kill him. Little White muttered to herself worriedly. Then, she looked at her two companions with a questioning look in her eyes. It was as though she was asking for their opinion on something. He'd rather die than hurt us. How can we watch him die in the hands of a devil? That's not my style. Little Gold said in a serious tone. Let's go. As for Xiaohei, he coolly spat out a single word before following Suli. The current Suli could be easily killed even if any one of the three of them were to make a move. The three of them had come to an agreement. They would follow Suli and protect him. When Suli's strength had recovered to the point where it was comparable to the three of them in their true forms, they would consider leaving him. Chapter 2267. Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black were chasing after Suli, who was heavily injured and possessed by the devil. After Duanling Tian returned to the human devil Saint City, he returned to an inn owned by the Crimson Blaze Palace, one of the 3 palaces and 6 halls. As soon as Duanling Tian arrived at the entrance of the guest room, he saw a beautiful figure standing in the middle of the courtyard. The beautiful figure was alone. She was looking at him expectantly, as though she was waiting for something. When she saw him appear, the beautiful eyes of the owner of the beautiful figure revealed a trace of excitement. Brother Tian. As soon as Duanling Tian entered the room, the beautiful figure leaped into his arms like a gust of wind and hugged him tightly. It was as though she was afraid of losing him. I'm back. Duanling Tian extended his hand and tightly hugged the beauty in his embrace before lightly patting her back as he spoke in a gentle voice. At this moment, he could feel the beauty in his arms longing for him. Brother Tian, I don't want to be separated from you anymore. After being affectionate for a while, Ko'er raised her head and looked at Duanling Tian as she spoke. Ker's beautiful face was covered in tears. It was obvious she had just cried. Ker, why are you crying? Duanling Tian's heart ached when he saw the tear stains on Ker's face. He hugged her again and did not let go for a long time. Don't worry, I won't leave you again. Cough cough. Just when the two of them seemed to have forgotten about the time, a few coughs sounded. It was Gan Ru Yen who had walked out of her room. She did not know if she should pretend she did not see anything or return to her room. In the end, she gave both of them an appropriate reminder. Ko'er immediately left Duanling Tian's embrace like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. Her beautiful face was flushed red. At the same time, she turned around and greeted Gan Ru Yen, sister. Duanling Tian's gaze also fell on Gan Ru Yen, and a hint of surprise appeared in his eyes. Now the feeling that Gan Ru Yen gave him was completely different from before. In that case, there was only one possibility. You broke through? Duanling Tian asked in surprise. Yes. Gan Ru Yen nodded her head in satisfaction when she saw Duanling Tian's shocked expression. The cultivation speed of a violet innate spiritual root is indeed extraordinary. Although the cultivation environment here is not as good as the upper province, with my current innate talent, my cultivation speed is much faster than when I was in the upper province. Previously, when Gan Ru Yen had arrived in the lower province, she felt a little disappointed. She wondered when she would be able to return to the upper province. After all, the cultivation environment in the lower province was too bad. It would be a waste of her life to cultivate here. She did not expect she would have such a fortuitous encounter in the lower province. Your innate spiritual root is not an ordinary violet innate spiritual root. It's a dark violet innate spiritual root. With such a dark violet innate spiritual root, it would be strange if your cultivation speed in the lower province is slower than when you only had an indigo innate spiritual root in the upper province. Duan Lingtian was not surprised when he heard Gan Ruyan's words. This is because you're still in the lower province. If you're in the upper province now, with your current innate talent, your cultivation speed will be much faster under the Zoroastrianism. Duan Lingtian added. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Gan Ruyan's eyes lit up immediately. A hint of anticipation could be seen on her face. Naturally, Duan Lingtian knew what Gan Ruyan was looking forward to. However, he mercilessly dampened her enthusiasm. If the devil clans don't have a powerhouse who's skilled in formations to set up a new inter-province transportation formation, it'll be difficult for us to return to the upper province. As expected, the anticipation on Gan Ruyan's face disappeared when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. It was replaced by disappointment. However, you don't have to worry. Currently, the devil clans have almost gained a foothold in the lower province. It won't take long before they can no longer hold themselves back and set up a new inter-province transportation formation. At that time, we'll be able to return to the lower province. While Gan Ruyan was feeling disappointed, Duan Lingtian's words reignited the fire of hope in her. Gan Ruyan glared at Duan Lingtian angrily. She suspected Duan Lingtian was deliberately teasing her. Naturally, Duan Lingtian was teasing her as well. Gan Ruyan had interrupted his intimate moment with Kerr. This made him feel extremely displeased. Sister, it's good that you're out of closed-door cultivation. When Si Ling wakes up, we'll be able to follow Brother Tian to the Wandering Saint Palace. Kerr could see the conflict between her man and her sister, so she tried to change the topic to ease the awkward atmosphere. Wandering Saint Palace? As expected, Gan Ruyan's attention was diverted when she heard Kerr's words. Yes, I plan to go to the Wandering Saint Palace and become a vice palace master. If there's a chance in the future, I plan to replace the current palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace and become the new palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he spoke of his lofty ambition. Gan Ruyan did not doubt Duan Lingtian's strength at all. After all, when they were still in the upper province, Duan Lingtian had defeated Hao Shuang, the strongest person below the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage in the upper province of the Dao Martial Saint Land. With his strength, it would not be difficult for him to become a vice palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace. You plan to take control of the Wandering Saint Palace? When the devil clans invade the upper province in the future, you'll bring the Wandering Saint Palace with you to deal a heavy blow to the devil clans. Gan Ruyan could vaguely guess Duan Lingtian's intention when she heard he planned to take over the Wandering Saint Palace. She could not help but gasp inwardly. The Wandering Saint Palace was one of the strongest forces in the human devil clan. If Duan Lingtian could take control of the Wandering Saint Palace, he would be able to deal a heavy blow to the devil clans. Although it might affect the devil clans, it would definitely be an unprecedented blow to the human devil clan. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. With your current strength, it won't be difficult for you to become a vice palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace. However, I heard that the palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace is a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. After Gan Ruyan finished speaking, she added, I suggest you improve your innate spiritual root to its limit before you go to the Wandering Saint Palace. In other words, your innate spiritual root should be black. That way, even in the lower province, your cultivation base will improve tremendously. You'll be able to defeat or even kill the palace master of Wandering Saint Palace and take over his position as the palace master. Gan Ruyan suggested, my innate spiritual root has already transformed into a black innate spiritual root. Duan Lingtian replied indifferently. What? Gan Ruyan was shocked when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Kerr, on the other hand, was not surprised. She knew the purpose of her man's trip. Since he had returned, He must have achieved his goal. Why your innate spiritual root has already transformed into a black innate spiritual root? Gan Ruyin looked at Duan Tian with a shocked expression on her face. Yes. Duan Tian nodded. I was just one step away from the black innate spiritual root. My trip this time allowed it to take the last step and help it complete its final upgrade and transform into a black innate spiritual root. After receiving Duan Tian's confirmation, Gan Ruyin was stunned for a moment before she regained her senses. Kerr! At this moment, Duan Tian seemed to have recalled something. He immediately looked at Kerr and said, There's something I forgot to tell you. I'm afraid I won't be able to help you transform your innate spiritual root into a black innate spiritual root in such a short time. Kerr nodded when she heard Duan Tian's words. She did not question his words at all. In her opinion, Duan Tian was not worried at all. Everything that her man did to her must have been for her own good. She trusted everything that her man did unconditionally. Why? Although Kerr trusted Duan Tian unconditionally, it did not mean Gan Ruyin felt the same way. She could not help but frown when she heard Duan Tian's words. Duan Tian was delighted by Kerr's trust. However, his mood was ruined when he heard Gan Ruyin's question. Nothing. Since his mood was ruined by Gan Ruyin, Duan Tian naturally could not be bothered with her. What kind of attitude is that? Gan Ruyin was furious when she saw Duan Tian deliberately ignoring her. She immediately looked at Kerr and said, Kerr, take a good look at your man. What kind of attitude is that? Sister, I believe Brother Tian has his reasons for doing this. You don't have to ask anymore. Kerr smiled faintly as she looked at Gan Ruyin. You've really been poisoned by him. Although Gan Ruyin was angered by Kerr, she felt helpless at the same time. Although this was her biological sister, and also her twin sister, she knew that as an elder sister, she was definitely far inferior to the man in front of her. Naturally, this did not mean Kerr did not care about her sister. The most important thing was comparison. If there was no comparison, there would be no harm. If there was any danger, one of them would have to bear the brunt of it. She believed that her younger sister would definitely shoulder the responsibility by herself and wouldn't let her elder sister be in danger. Her sister was too kind. She cared a lot about her sister. Naturally, her sister cared the most about the man in front of her. Father, you're back? Duan Ling opened the door and walked out of the room. She was so excited that she seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind as she rushed toward Duan Tian and threw herself into Duan Tian's arms. When Duan Tian carried her, she looked at Gan Ruyin and asked, Aunt, you're out of closed-door cultivation as well? Gan Ruyin could not help but feel slightly disappointed when she saw her niece seemed to care more about the man in front of her. Chapter 2268. Although Gan Ruyin was born in a clan, she did not have much contact with her clan. Ever since she was born, she had followed her younger sister into Zoroastrianism. At that time, her younger sister had become the saint girl of Zoroastrianism. As for her, she was taken in by her master as well. For so many years apart from her master, her world was filled with cultivation. She did not interact with the other disciples of Zoroastrianism at all. It was only when she found her younger sister in the Debussy subterranean that she felt that blood was thicker than water. Eventually, her younger sister's child was born. As for this child, she loved the house and its crow. She completely treated this child as her own daughter and invested her feelings without reservation. Ling. Although Gan Ruyin knew that blood was thicker than water between Duan Tian and Duan Ling, she could not help but feel a sense of loss. This feeling was as if someone who needed her very much suddenly didn't need her anymore. Ling, play with your aunt first. I have something to discuss with your father. At this moment, Kerr said as she looked at Duan Ling. Duan Ling reluctantly left Duan Tian's embrace. Her big, watery eyes were filled with reluctance as she watched her mother bring her father back to their room. Aunt. However, a child's world was simple. When Duan Ling saw her parents had left her sight, she shifted her attention to Gan Ruyin. Kerr, what's the matter? Duan Tian asked Kerr curiously after they entered the room. Brother Tian, I'm fine. Kuo shook her head. Then she smiled bitterly inside. I saw that my sister was a little disappointed, so I wanted Si Ling to accompany her alone. Ever since Si Ling was born, she has been very good to Si Ling. She treats Si Ling like her own daughter. I can tell. She cares about Si Ling more than she cares about herself. Just now, when Si Ling came out, she threw herself into your arms. I could tell that she was very disappointed. As a woman, Kuo was very meticulous in certain aspects. This was something that Duan Lingtian could not compare to. I see. Realization dawned on Duan Lingtian. Then he said remorsefully, I didn't know she was so nice to Si Ling. If I had known, I wouldn't have bullied her. Because Gan Ruyen had taken Kuo away from him, he had always been prejudiced against Gan Ruyen. Now that he knew that Gan Ruyen treated his daughter so well, the prejudice he had against Gan Ruyen disappeared and was replaced by self-reproach. As a man, he felt that it was ungentlemanly of him to treat a weak woman in such a manner. Brother Tian, my sister is really nice. Back then, she brought me away because she was worried that I would be found by other people from Zoroastrianism. She didn't have any ill intentions. If she had any ill intentions, she would have sent me to the enforcement hall after bringing me back to Zoroastrianism. Kuo said. I know. Duan Lingtian nodded. Don't worry. I won't be prejudiced against her in the future. Okay. Kuo nodded with a smile. It was obvious she was in a good mood. After all, they were the family she cared about the most. She did not wish for there to be a rift between them. Duan Lingtian and Kuo stayed in the room for a while before they left. At this moment, Duan Lingtian seemed to have forgotten about Duan Lingtian's existence. She was playing with Gan Ruyen. Her delicate face was beaming with joy. A child's world was so simple. After Duan Lingtian came out of the room, he walked toward Gan Ruyen. When he saw Gan Ruyen looking at him with disdain, he could not help but feel awkward. Although he felt awkward, he still explained to Gan Ruyen. Earlier, I said I won't help Kuo improve her innate spiritual root to a black innate spiritual root for the time being, because it's dangerous to improve her innate spiritual root without careful consideration. Previously, after my innate spiritual root became a black innate spiritual root, Duan Lingtian told Gan Ruyen about the heavenly tribulation he had encountered earlier. His expression was solemn, as he explained how powerful the heavenly tribulation was. In order to pass the heavenly tribulation, one must possess strength at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Needless to say, Gan Ruyen was shocked by Duan Lingtian's words. Gan Ruyen did not even think about why Duan Lingtian's temperament had changed so drastically. Currently, her attention was completely focused on the heavenly tribulation that came after her innate spiritual root became a black innate spiritual root. Only those at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage can pass the heavenly tribulation. Gan Ruyen could not calm down for a long time. After she had calmed down, she looked at Duan Lingtian and asked in confusion, Why you're already at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage? My current strength is only comparable to those who have just broken through to the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Duan Lingtian replied. Even so, Gan Ruyen was still shocked. She looked at Duan Lingtian with a complicated expression on her face. Previously, when she brought her sister away from the Debussy subterranean, Duan Lingtian was as weak as an ant in her eyes. But now, he had already left her far behind. Let's go to the Wandering Saint Palace. Duan Lingtian bade farewell to the 3 women before he led them away from the inn and made his way to the Wandering Saint Palace. As one of the strongest forces in the Human Devil clan, the Wandering Saint Palace had a huge estate in the Human Devil Saint City. From a bird's eye view, it resembled the Imperial Palace on the mortal continent. However, the Wandering Saint Palace's estate was much bigger than the Imperial Palaces on the mortal continent. Even the Darkhan Dynasty's Imperial Palace that Duan Lingtian had visited was not as big as the Wandering Saint Palace. The Wandering Saint Palace's estate was located northeast of the Human Devil Saint City. It was a secluded area, so not many human devils would come here. They could only see a few disciples patrolling around the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. This is the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Trespassers are prohibited. When Duan Lingtian and the others approached the wandering Saint Palace's estate, a stern voice rang from afar. A few moments later, 3 figures flew over from afar and blocked Duan Lingtian and the others' path. The person who spoke was the leader of the 3. He was a middle-aged man with an expressionless face, as if he had facial paralysis. He did not even bat an eyelid when he saw the beautiful twins in Duan Lingtian's group. On the other hand, the 2 young men behind him were completely captivated by Ke and Gan Ruyan's beauty. After staring at the twins for a while, they finally looked at Duan Lingtian with a hint of jealousy in their eyes. Chapter 2269. The middle-aged patrolling disciple looked at Duan Lingtian with fear, shock, and disbelief in his eyes. He was afraid of the purple-clad young man's strength. He was shocked when he saw the purple-clad young man daring to kill a disciple of the Wandering Saint Palace outside their territory. This was the first time he had seen someone who dared to kill a disciple of the Wandering Saint Palace in their territory. Although there have been such maniacs in the history of the Wandering Saint Palace, they were all killed by the powerhouses of the Wandering Saint Palace without exception. Chunin must have said something offensive to the purple-clad young man through voice transmission. Based on the purple-clad young man's words, it must have something to do with the twin sisters next to him. These twin sisters should be his women. The remaining patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace seemed to have realized something. He was very familiar with Chunin, the disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace who had been killed. Therefore, he knew Chunin was a pervert who would lust after beautiful women. He was especially fearless when it came to beautiful women who did not have any background. Chunin must have seen these people coming to join the Wandering Saint Palace and thought they were just ordinary devils with no background. I'm afraid he didn't expect to meet his match until the moment he was killed. The patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace thought to himself as he observed a moment of silence for Chunin. At the same time, his eyes were filled with fear when he looked at the purple-clad young man who had killed Chunin. The purple-clad young man was too terrifying. He did not seem to have moved at all. Just the energy he released was enough to kill a powerhouse at the 2nd form of the Saint Celestial stage, as easily as killing a chicken. Even Brother Hong did not have time to react when the purple-clad young man attacked. Brother Hong is a powerhouse at the 3rd form of the Saint Celestial stage. I'm afraid the purple-clad young man is not just a powerhouse at the 4th form of the Saint Celestial stage. The purple-clad young man might be a powerhouse at the 5th or 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage. The patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace speculated. However, even if he's a powerhouse at the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he won't be able to escape death for killing a disciple of the Wandering Saint Palace outside our territory. The young patrolling disciple did not doubt this at all. A hint of pity could be seen in his eyes when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. Usually, a powerhouse at or above the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage could join the Wandering Saint Palace, as long as he or she was willing. For such powerhouses, the Wandering Saint Palace would usually make an exception and take them in. However, to a certain extent, the purple-clad young man's actions were a provocation to the Wandering Saint Palace. If the Wandering Saint Palace did not execute him, their reputation would be tarnished, and their reputation would be tarnished. Therefore, he did not think that the purple-clothed young man would be able to survive today. If you want to call for help, then hurry up. You've been holding that voice transmission jade slip for a long time. Duan Lingtian said calmly as he glanced at the patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace. It was as though he was talking about something insignificant. There were almost no Dao cultivators among the demons, so there were no Dao talismans. However, the devil clans still had something like a voice transmission jade slip. Even if the devil clans did not have it, now that the devil clans had invaded the Debussy subterranean, they would have easily obtained many voice transmission jade slips. After all, voice transmission jade slips were not rare. Moreover, the patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace usually consisted of 3 patrolling disciples. Now that Ding Jianhong was alone, the 3 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace had a bad feeling about this. The three of you. This purple-clad young man has just killed Chenin. At this moment, Ding Jianhong's voice rang from the side of the three patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace. Ding Jianhong's voice transmission caused the expressions of the three patrolling disciples to change drastically. I didn't even have time to react when he made his move. By the time I reacted, Chenin had already been killed. Apart from a spatial ring, there was no trace of him at all. From the beginning until the end, he didn't move at all. I suspect he's at least a powerhouse at the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage, or even the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Before the three patrolling disciples could regain their senses, Ding Jianhong continued to transmit his voice to them through voice transmission. A powerhouse at the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage? A powerhouse at the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage? The three of them were so shocked that their bodies stiffened. Even the strongest person among them was only at the 3rd form of the Saint Celestial stage. Even a powerhouse at the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage could easily kill them, let alone a powerhouse at the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage. At this moment, Duan Lingtian shifted his gaze back to Ding Jianhong. Ding Jianhong felt guilty when he saw Duan Lingtian's gaze. However, he sighed in relief when he recalled he had already sent out the message through his communication jade token. Even if he were to die, his death would not be in vain. Ding Jianhong was prepared to die when he heard Duan Lingtian's lazy voice. Ding Jianhong was stunned when he heard Duan Lingtian's lazy voice. I told you to crush your communication jade token a long time ago. Why did you wait until now? Are you worried I'll stop you from sending out the message through your communication jade token? These were Duan Lingtian's words. He's not afraid I'll spread the message? At this moment, Ding Jianhong finally realized this, even though he was slow to react. It was precisely because of this that Ding Jianhong was also puzzled in his heart. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. Is he not afraid of dying? Where does he get the confidence to do this? Just as Ding Jianhong was puzzled, a thunderous voice suddenly resounded from afar. This thunderous voice was filled with anger and fury. How could I have forgotten about him? Ding Jianhong's eyes brightened when he heard the voice. The father of Chenin, the disciple who was killed by the purple-clad young man, was an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace. Moreover, he was an elder at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, Elder Chen Tong. Elder Chen Tong. Soon after, a middle-aged man with a medium build flew over from afar. In just a blink of an eye, he arrived at Duan Lingtian's side. Ding Jianhong and the other 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace bowed at him. The reason why the middle-aged man came here was naturally because a group of people gathered here had attracted his attention. The middle-aged man was none other than Elder Chen Tong of the Wandering Saint Palace. He was also the father of Chenin, the disciple who was killed by Duan Lingtian. Ding Jianhong, I remember my son was patrolling with you today. Where is he? Chen Tong ignored the patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace and asked coldly as he looked at Ding Jianhong. Elder Chen Tong. Chenin was killed. Ding Jianhong felt as though he had been plunged into an ice cave when he saw Chen Tong's cold gaze. Chapter 2270. You're the one who killed my son? Elder Chen Tong of Wandering Saint Palace said as he looked at Duan Lingtian. His voice was so loud that it hurt everyone's ears. Before Duan Lingtian could reply, the old man who had spoken earlier said, Duan Lingtian. The old man who was the leader of the 3 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace spoke to Chen Tong. Elder Chen Tong, he's the one who killed your son. Moreover, Ding Jianhong said that Chenin was killed by his attack and was reduced to ashes. The old patrolling disciple from Wandering Saint Palace said, as though he wanted to stir up trouble. Elder Chen Tong, this fellow killed Chenin outside our Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Not only is he looking down on our Wandering Saint Palace, but he's also looking down on you. The old patrolling disciple from Wandering Saint Palace continued to add fuel to the fire. Immediately, Chen Tong's pupils shrunk again and again as his expression became increasingly gloomy. A cold aura surged out of his body, causing everyone present to feel as though they were in a world of ice and snow. You're seeking death. When Chen Tong's eyes that were filled with killing intent landed on Duan Ling Tian, he shouted coldly again as the saint origin in his body surged out through his saint veins. "Daddy, this person is so annoying." A young and pleasant voice rang out, and it attracted the gazes of most of the people present. It was Duan Ling, who was in Duan Ling Tian's arms. At this moment, Duan Ling looked at Chen Tong with a frown. A hint of disdain could be seen on her adorable face. "Since Ling says he's annoying, Daddy, can you ask him to scram now?" Duan Ling Tian said gently as he patted Duan Ling's head affectionately when he heard Duan Ling's words. From the beginning until the end, Duan Ling Tian did not even look at Chen Tong. It was as though Chen Tong did not exist at all. Shameless boasting. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, the old patrolling disciple from Wandering Saint Palace glared at Duan Ling Tian angrily and said, "You're a brat. Boy, do you really think you can look down on Elder Chen Tong, just because you're a powerhouse at the 5th or 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage? Elder Chen Tong is a powerhouse at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, let alone the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Even if you're a powerhouse at the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage, you won't be able to escape death today." Based on the patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace, the old patrolling disciple from the Saint Palace was certain that Duan Ling Tian would die. You're at the 5th form of the 5th form of the Saint Celestial stage. At the same time, Chen Tong scoffed disdainfully. "Even if your cultivation base is at the 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage, I'll definitely kill you with just one move. I only need one move to kill you." Chen Tong's words were indeed arrogant. However, none of the patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace doubted Chen Tong's words. All of them felt that Chen Tong was indeed capable. "If I knew Elder Chen Tong would come, I wouldn't have needed to crush my communication jade token to inform the other elders." Ding Jianhong thought to himself. "Die." As soon as Chen Tong finished speaking, his body flashed as the sound of wind whistling rang in the air. Along with the sound of wind whistling in the air, a gust of wind appeared. The gust of wind seemed to have transformed into a raging dragon as it charged toward Duan Ling Tian at an extremely fast speed. Chen Tong stood with his hands behind his back on top of the gust of wind. He looked majestic, as though he was looking down on heaven and earth. All of this happened in just a blink of an eye. When Chen Tong moved, the patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace only saw a flash before their eyes. In the next moment, Chen Tong appeared near Duan Ling Tian. Saint Origin surged out of his body and gathered in his hands. All of a sudden, boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang in the air, as the vast Saint Origin in Chen Tong's hands surged toward Duan Ling Tian, like a torrent that had broken through a dam. This attack was so powerful that it was earth-shattering. Boom! 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 A vast and majestic Saint Qi burst out from Chen Tong's hands like a torrent. In addition to the earth-shattering sound at the beginning, this Saint Qi also shook the void and set off a series of deafening explosions. Chen Tong's Saint Origin surged out like a torrential flood, and was only a few feet away from Duan Ling Tian. Ding Jianhong, the patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace, could not help but sigh inwardly. Karma really comes fast. Previously, the purple-clad young man killed Chenin, but now, it's his father's turn to kill him. Moreover, he's not the only one who's going to die. His daughter and his woman will die as well. Just as Ding Jianhong had these thoughts in his mind, suddenly, he seemed to have seen something. The pity in his eyes disappeared, and was replaced by shock and disbelief. At this moment, it was not only Ding Jianhong. Even the few patrolling disciples from Wandering Saint Palace, including the old patrolling disciple, narrowed their eyes in unison. Shock and disbelief were written all over their faces. Why were they like this? All of this was because of the method Duan Ling Tian used when Chen Tong's Saint Qi fell on him. As soon as Chen Tong's Saint Origin approached Duan Ling Tian, a huge whirlpool suddenly appeared in the void with Duan Ling Tian as the center. The vortex spun faster and faster, as it emitted a terrifying devouring force that seemed to be able to devour the heavens and earth. Before Chen Tong's torrential Saint Origin could reach Duan Ling Tian, it was blocked by the whirlpool and devoured by the whirlpool. How's this possible? This scene caused Chen Tong's face to change drastically. Immediately, he pushed the Saint Chi in his body to the limit without reservation. In just a blink of an eye, the momentum of the Saint Chi that was like a mountain torrent increased again. It's about time. After devouring another portion of Chen Tong's energy, Duanling Tian's heart jolted. The whirlpool in the air that overlapped with his body suddenly began to spin in another direction. The instant the whirlpool rotated in the opposite direction, a similarly vast and mighty torrent-like force swept out and violently collided with Chen Tong's subsequent force. In an instant boom, another earth-shattering sound rang out as the two equally vast and majestic forces collided, causing the void to tremble, as though it would collapse at any time. At the same time, gusts of turbulent gales swept out in all directions from the point of collision of the two forces. Boom! 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 After a series of loud noises that sounded like aftershocks, Chen Tong's subsequent force finally defeated the force that swept out from the whirlpool that overlapped with Duanling Tian's. In fact, the force that swept out from the vortex was the force that Duanling Tian had devoured from Chen Tong. This was also a new experiment that Duanling Tian came up with on a whim. He could use the divine ability, the elementary devouring technique, to devour his opponent's Saint Chi within a controllable range. At first, Duanling Tian planned to devour his opponent's Saint Chi to enhance his Saint Chi. However, he soon discovered that the Saint Chi was different from the Saint Chi. His opponent's energy was different from the heaven and earth spirit energy, so he could not use it to enhance his Saint Chi. He could only rely on the divine ability, the elementary devouring technique, to reverse the situation. Moreover, while he was using the elementary devouring technique to devour his opponent's energy, the energy that he had devoured from his opponent was being depleted as well. This was the reason Duanling Tian fell into a disadvantageous position when he used his divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to attack another spear with his spear. However, even if he was at a disadvantage, Chen Tong's Saint Chi had almost depleted his Saint Chi. Black Turtle's Barrier. Duanling Tian cast his defensive divine ability in a timely manner. A gigantic defensive light shield in the form of a black tortoise appeared and easily blocked Chen Tong's follow-up attack. Oh no! Horror dawned on Chen Tong when he saw his Saint Chi was almost depleted while his opponent was unharmed. Moreover, it did not seem like he had depleted his Saint Chi at all. At this moment, he would have lived in vain if he still did not realize he had kicked an iron plate. This purple-clad young man was not a powerhouse at the 5th or 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage at all. He was at least at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the purple-clad young man to devour his energy and turn it against him. I'm an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace. If you dare to kill me, the Wandering Saint Palace won't let you go. Chen Tong's expression changed drastically when he saw Duanling Tian looking at him. His voice trembled as he roared. At this moment, Chen Tong was like a drowning man who had grabbed onto a straw to clutch at. The straw to clutch at was the Wandering Saint Palace. Elder Chen Tong, you don't have to worry about whether the Wandering Saint Palace will let me go or not. Duanling Tian smiled faintly when he heard Chen Tong's words. Then he raised his hand and released his Sun Saint origin that he had been accumulating. It transformed into a gigantic sword and slapped it at Chen Tong. Currently, Chen Tong's Saint origin was almost depleted. Even a powerhouse at the first form of the Saint Celestial stage would be able to kill him. Moreover, this was Duanling Tian's technique. Smack! As the giant sword slammed into the space where Chen Tong was, the space trembled and ripples spread out in all directions. Chen Tong, on the other hand, had disappeared into thin air. All that was left was a storage ring that floated in the air all by itself, and it fell from the sky as soon as it appeared. Whoosh! A shapeless force stretched out and guided the falling spatial ring to return to Duanling Tian. Chapter 2271. How's this possible? Elder Chen Tong was a powerhouse at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, but he was killed in just a blink of an eye. Before Elder Chen Tong attacked, he said he would kill the purple-clad young man in one move. However, the purple-clad young man only used 2 moves to kill him. Who's this purple-clad young man? Why is he so terrifying? He killed a powerhouse at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, as though he was killing a chicken. I'm afraid this purple-clad young man is at least at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, right? The group of patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace looked at Duan Ling Tian in disbelief after they recovered from their shock. There were even a few people who couldn't help but reach out to pinch their own thighs and give themselves a slap, as if they wanted to verify whether they were dreaming or not. He's so powerful. Ding Jianhong, the middle-aged patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace, thought the purple-clad young man would definitely die. He even thought the purple-clad young man would be killed by Chen Tong with just 1 move. However, the reality before his eyes had given him a bright and clear look. Indeed, someone had been killed and turned into ashes. However, that person was not the purple-clad young man. It was Chen Tong, an elder at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage from the Wandering Saint Palace. Ding Jianhong did not expect this at all. He did not expect the purple-clad young man to possess such terrifying strength. He's not a powerhouse at the 5th or 6th form of the Saint Celestial stage. He's a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Now Ding Jianhong was deeply aware of this point. Ding Jianhong was not the only one who had realized this. Even the old patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace, who wanted to stir up trouble in front of Chen Tong, had realized this as well. Lord, please spare my life. Lord, please spare my life. When Duan Ling Tian looked at the old patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace calmly, the old patrolling disciple trembled violently before he fell to his knees. He kept kowtowing to Duan Ling Tian as he begged for mercy. After witnessing Duan Ling Tian's strength, the old patrolling disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace could not muster up the courage to resist at all. What a joke! Even an elder at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, like Chen Tong, was killed in 2 moves, let alone a mere cultivator at the 3rd form of the Saint Celestial stage like him. It was precisely because of this that he had tossed his dignity to the back of his mind and only begged the purple-clad young man before him to spare his life. Humph! Duan Ling Tian snorted coldly in response to the old elder's question. When the elder heard Duan Ling Tian's words, he was so frightened that his body stiffened. His eyes widened as a look of despair appeared on his face. Boom! Under the watchful eyes of the others, no one saw Duan Ling Tian's movement. It was as though a gust of wind had blown past the kneeling elder from the Wandering Saint Palace. A thunderous sound rang in the air as the wind blew past the kneeling elder. After the loud explosion, the elder from the Wandering Saint Palace disappeared, as though he had vanished into thin air. All that was left behind was a lonely spatial ring. The entire place fell silent again. The remaining 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, led by Ding Jianhong, did not even dare to breathe loudly. They did not even dare to look at Duan Ling Tian. All of them lowered their heads, as though they were waiting for Duan Ling Tian's verdict. Wow! Daddy is so strong. He actually managed to chase them away. Duan Xiling danced in Duan Ling Tian's arms. Her delicate face was filled with excitement. In her eyes, she only thought that it was her father who had chased them away, and not that he had killed them to the point where not even a speck of dust remained. Chased them away? When the 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace heard Duan Xiling's words, they could only smile wryly. Was this young lady joking? Did she not see how the spatial ring would automatically remove its owner after the person was gone? All of a sudden, Duan Ling Tian seemed to have sensed something as he looked in the direction of the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. After a few moments, swoosh, swoosh, accompanied by 2 swift whistling sounds, 2 ghostly figures flew over from afar, one in front and one behind. The speed of one of them was much faster than the speed of the other. He was the first to arrive at the place where Duan Ling Tian and the others were. Who killed my Wandering Saint Palace's disciple? The person asked in a deep voice as soon as he appeared. Elder Lin Yuan. Elder Lin Yuan. When the person appeared, Ding Jianhong and the other patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, who were originally anxious, felt relieved. They immediately bowed respectfully at the person who had just arrived. The person who had just arrived was an old man with white hair and eyebrows. He was dressed in a long robe and had a youthful complexion. He looked like an immortal. The 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace were relieved, because the old man was one of the strongest elders in the Wandering Saint Palace. He was at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Swoosh! Another person arrived after Elder Lin Yuan from the Wandering Saint Palace. Elder Peng Lai. Elder Peng Lai. The 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace immediately bowed at the person who had just arrived. This person was also an elder from the Wandering Saint Palace. His name was Peng Lai, and he was a short and muscular middle-aged man. Naturally, his cultivation base was slightly lower than Lin Yuan's, since he was only at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Ding Jianhong. Did you crush the communication jade slip and say that someone killed our Wandering Saint Palace's disciple? Chinen? Peng Lai asked in a deep voice as he looked at Ding Jianhong. When Ding Jianhong heard Peng Lai's words, he could not help but look at the purple-clad young man, who was holding a little girl in his arms. Peng Lai and Lin Yuan followed Ding Jianhong's gaze and looked at Duan Lingtian in unison. Duan Lingtian. Suddenly, Lin Yuan's pupil shrank, and then he roared out, his voice full of anger. In his eyes, waves of hatred and anger rose up, as if they could burn everything. At this moment, Lin Yuan did not look like he was looking at someone who had killed a disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace. He looked more like he was looking at his father's murderer. What's going on? Elder Lin Yuan, does he know this purple-clad young man? Upon seeing Lin Yuan's reaction, Elder Peng Lai, Ding Jianhong, and the other patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace were dumbfounded. They did not know what was going on at all. Based on Lin Yuan's reaction, it seemed like he knew the purple-clad young man for a long time. Moreover, it seemed like there was a deep grudge between them. Duan Lingtian? Peng Lai regained his senses after a while. He found the name familiar. In the end, he seemed to have recalled something, and his eyes narrowed. I remember. The person who killed Elder Lin Yuan's grandson, Lin Qigang, seems to be called Duan Lingtian? Could it be him? Peng Lai's heart skipped a beat when he looked at Duan Lingtian again. You know me? On the other side, Duan Lingtian had a stupefied expression. When the elder from the Wandering Saint Palace saw him, not only did he call out his name, but he even glared at him with hatred. It was as though there was a grudge between them for killing his son and stealing his wife. Duan Lingtian was certain. This was definitely his first time meeting the elder from the Wandering Saint Palace. Of course I know you. Lin Yuan was so angry that he laughed. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he said, A year ago my grandson Lin Qigang was killed by you. I didn't expect you to come knocking on my door after a year. It seems like the heavens have been kind to me. When Lin Yuan finished speaking, his killing intent soared into the sky. It was mixed with devil qi that seemed capable of piercing through the heavens. Lin Qigang? Duan Lingtian was stunned. Although the name sounded familiar, he could not recall where he had heard it from. Apart from Elder Peng Lai, the other disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, who were patrolling the area, narrowed their eyes in shock when they heard Duan Lingtian's words. This Duan Lingtian, is he the one who killed Elder Lin Yuan's grandson, Lin Qigang? I heard Elder Lin Yuan's grandson was killed outside the ruin that was suspected to be left behind by a celestial grade saint inscription master. Moreover, he was killed by a human devil who was even stronger than Miss Wenjing. I didn't expect him to be the culprit. Is there something wrong with this Duan Lingtian's brain? He wants to join the Wandering Saint Palace after killing Elder Lin Yuan's grandson? Humph. Don't forget he's a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage like Elder Lin Yuan. The problem is, when he killed Elder Lin Yuan's grandson, Lin Qigang, he also killed Elder He Qing's son, He Sunjia, and Elder Lu Wei's grandson, Situyu. He dares to come to the Wandering Saint Palace after offending 3 elders at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage? He's really bold. The patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace whispered among themselves. Although their voices were not loud, Duan Lingtian and the others could clearly hear them. Elder He-Ching? Elder Peng Lai shook his head inwardly when he heard the whispers of the patrolling disciples from the wandering Saint Palace. That Elder He-Ching had already died a year ago. His soul pearl was discovered to have shattered a year ago. The palace master of the wandering Saint Palace had even sent a few elders to investigate the cause of his death. However, they did not manage to find anything. He-Ching was an elder at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage after all. He was one of the pillars of the wandering Saint Palace. For this reason, the wandering Saint Palace had kept his death a secret. For this reason, the disciples from the wandering Saint Palace were unaware of his death. So, you're that person's grandfather. Realization dawned on Duan Ling Tian when he heard the whispers of the patrolling disciples from the wandering Saint Palace, as he looked at Lin Yuan again. Chapter 2272. A powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage? At the same time, Elder Lin Yuan and Elder Peng Lai frowned when they heard a disciple whispering to each other. After a series of voice transmissions, they finally learned what had happened. Elder Chen Tong from Wandering Saint Palace, who was at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, was killed by Duan Lingtian in just 2 moves. Duan Lingtian's strength is actually so terrifying. Peng Lai's expression changed drastically. Although he had heard that Duan Lingtian was stronger than Miss Wenjing, Miss Wenjing was only at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage after all. She was not as strong as Chen Tong. However, today, Duan Lingtian had killed Chen Tong in just 2 moves. How could he not be shocked? Duan Lingtian's cultivation base is most likely at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Peng Lai thought to himself. However, even if his cultivation base has broken through to the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, I don't think he's a match for Elder Lin Yuan. If Elder Lin Yuan fought Chen Tong in a death duel, I'm afraid Elder Lin Yuan would be able to kill Chen Tong in just 1 move. However, Duan Lingtian only needed 2 moves to kill Chen Tong. Peng Lai was filled with confidence when he thought about this. Although Duan Lingtian is also at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he might not be as strong as Elder Lin Yuan. That's right. Although Elder Lin Yuan isn't at the peak of the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he has been at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage for quite some time now. He's definitely stronger than Duan Lingtian. With Elder Lin Yuan's strength, he would only need 1 move to kill Chen Tong. In comparison, Duan Lingtian is indeed weaker. A few patrolling disciples from Wandering Saint Palace whispered among themselves. Based on their words, it was obvious they were confident in Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan had similar thoughts as well. Duan Lingtian. Lin Yuan stared at Duan Lingtian with a gaze as cold as the edge of a blade. Even if you're at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, I'll still kill you to appease my grandson's soul in heaven. At the same time, Lin Yuan's body exuded a fierce and terrifying aura. His saint qi surged like boiling water, and his demonic qi soared into the sky. Shut. As soon as Lin Yuan finished speaking, Duan Lingtian said impatiently in a low voice, "Brother Lingtian." In the next moment, elementary devouring tactic. As soon as Lin Yuan mobilized the saint origin in his body, Duan Lingtian cast his assist-type divine ability at lightning speed, causing a whirlpool to appear in the air and merge with his body. During this process, Duan Lingtian's 99 saint veins played a crucial role. Before Lin Yuan could fully mobilize the saint origin in his body, not only did Duan Lingtian fully mobilize his saint origin, but he also cast the divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic. As soon as the elementary devouring tactic was activated, the heaven and earth spirit energy in the surroundings surged toward Duan Lingtian and entered his body. It temporarily became a part of Duan Lingtian's sun saint origin. In just a blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian's sun saint origin had risen to the level of a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. In fact, it was not inferior to Lin Yuan's saint origin that was about to be fully activated. Not only was it not inferior to Lin Yuan's sun saint origin, but it was even stronger. When the group of people from Wandering Saint Palace saw Duan Lingtian's momentum, they thought Duan Lingtian was going to fight Lin Yuan. However, a shocking scene unfolded before their eyes. Golden Crow's wings. Under everyone's watchful eyes, a pair of flaming wings appeared on Duan Lingtian's back. As he flapped them, the sound of air exploding reverberated in the air. Duan Lingtian, Ke, and Gan Ruyen, who were next to him, followed the sound of air exploding as they flew into the distance. Duan Siling, who was in Duan Lingtian's arms, Ke, and Gan Ruyen were all brought along by Duan Lingtian. He's trying to escape? When the group of people from Wandering Saint Palace saw this, the same thought appeared in their minds. Trying to escape? At this moment, Lin Yuan had also activated his saint origin. Killing intent flashed in his eyes as a smirk appeared on his face. He instantly cast his movement technique and divine ability. Before this, Yang Kai had also cast his own assist-type divine abilities to further enhance his saint chi. Swoosh! Lin Yuan's figure swayed, creating a loud and heavy sound as he tore through the air. Boom! 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 When Lin Yuan's body moved, there was naturally a violent friction with the air, which then set off a series of dense air explosions. Elder Lin Yuan is indeed stronger than Duan Lingtian. Elder Peng Lai of Wandering Saint Palace thought to himself, when he saw Lin Yuan's speed was faster than Duan Lingtian's. However, he seemed to have overlooked something important. At this moment, Duan Lingtian was not moving alone. He was bringing along 3 burdens with him. However, Peng Lai's eyes widened when he saw Duan Lingtian. This was because he saw Duan Lingtian stopping in the distance. When he moved again, his speed was already on par with Lin Yuan's. He's bringing 3 people with him. At the same time, Peng Lai finally noticed the 3 people Duan Lingtian was bringing with him. He gulped nervously. After he changed places, the heaven and earth spirit energy in that area stirred and was absorbed by him. What's his assist-type divine ability? Why is the heaven and earth spirit energy in that area not enough for him? After all, Peng Lai was at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Based on what he had seen earlier, it did not take him long to figure this out. Since Peng Lai had noticed it, Lin Yuan had noticed it as well. How's this possible? Lin Yuan's pupils shrank, and an ominous premonition arose in his heart. However, his hatred for Duan Lingtian overshadowed this ominous feeling. His assist-type divine ability must have raised his saint origin to its limit. Even if I can't catch up to him, he won't be able to escape under my watch. When the effect of his assist-type divine ability wears off, he'll die. With this thought in mind, Lin Yuan continued to chase after Duan Lingtian. During this time, Lin Yuan discovered Duan Lingtian had changed places to use his assist-type divine ability to absorb the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings. Initially, Peng Lai was terrified. He thought Duan Lingtian's strength would increase by using his assist-type divine ability. However, when he discovered Duan Lingtian's speed was still the same as his, he could not help but sneer. You're just playing tricks on me. As long as Duan Lingtian's strength did not increase, Lin Yuan was not afraid at all. However, did Duan Lingtian's strength not increase at all? Naturally, the answer was no. In fact, when Duan Lingtian changed places for the 2nd time and absorbed the heaven and earth spirit energy in his surroundings, his speed was much faster than Lin Yuan's. However, he did not do that. He did not think it was necessary. As long as he maintained the same speed as Lin Yuan would not be able to catch up to him. At the same time, he could use his divine ability, the elementary devouring tactic, to improve his saint origin. His saint origin would be comparable to the saint origin of a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lin Yuan chased after Duan Lingtian like a cat chasing a mouse. The patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace were dazzled when they saw this. Although they could not see Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian's figures clearly, they could vaguely sense their speed was about the same. Otherwise, Lin Yuan would have caught up to Duan Lingtian or Duan Lingtian would have escaped. Duan Lingtian's speed seems to be much faster than before. He's relying on his assist-type divine ability to increase his speed. Once the effect of his assist-type divine ability wears off, he'll return to his original state. However, his assist-type divine ability is really amazing. Even though he's carrying 3 people, he's still able to keep up with Elder Lin Yuan. It's really amazing. The 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, including Ding Jianhong, began to discuss among themselves again. At the same time, they were also watching the battle intently. Although they could not see anything clearly, they could vaguely hear the sound of 2 figures tearing through the air one after the other. They did not even blink as they continued to watch the battle. It was as though they were afraid of missing out on something. But now, they had overlooked another problem. After the effect of his assist-type divine ability wore off, Duan Lingtian would return to his original state, and Lin Yuan would catch up to him. Why did he not run away? Why was he running in circles on the spot? About 10 breaths later, Duan Lingtian had cast his movement divine ability, the Golden Crow's Wings. It's done. Duan Lingtian had finally raised his saint origin to the point where it was comparable to the saint origin of a powerhouse, at the 9th form of the saint celestial stage. Duan Lingtian's confidence was boosted when his body was filled with explosive saint origin. Whoosh! He paused for a moment and turned around to look at Lin Yuan, who was chasing after him. What's he doing? Could it be that the effect of his assist-type divine ability has worn off? He knows he can't escape, so he decided to fight Elder Lin Yuan head-on? That's possible. Apart from the patrolling disciples, even Elder Peng Lai of the Wandering Saint Palace shared the same thoughts. Only the person involved, Elder Lin Yuan of the Wandering Saint Palace, felt more and more uneasy. Whoosh! Under everyone's watchful eyes, Duan Lingtian raised his hand, and a 3-foot-long blade appeared in his hand. It was 1,000 inscriptions saint sword. Condense. With just a thought, Duan Lingtian channeled his son's saint origin, that was comparable to the saint origin of a powerhouse, at the 9th form of the saint celestial stage, into the 1,000 inscriptions saint sword. In the next moment, go! Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Swoosh! Swoosh! Chapter 2273. Swoosh! The sound of a sword whistling in the air rang in the air. Lin Yuan, the elder from Wandering Saint Palace, who was pursuing Duan Lingtian, suddenly felt as though he was being targeted by a terrifying aura. Oh no! Lin Yuan's expression changed drastically. His saint origin surged with devil qi, and formed a shield in front of him. The shield was so huge that it seemed to be able to support the sky. You're not much stronger than the elder from Wandering Saint Palace who I killed a year ago. He's He Sun Jie's father. These words rang in Lin Yuan's ears, as soon as he heard the sound of a sword whistling in the air. It was none other than Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. He Sun Jie's father? Wasn't that He Qing? He Qing was killed by him. Just as this thought subconsciously appeared in Lin Yuan's mind, he suddenly realized something. A loud explosion interrupted his train of thought. He didn't even have time to react when a sword light flashed past his eyes. Bang! Immediately after, the defensive technique that he hastily put up was also shattered under the bombardment of the sword light. After the huge shield completely condensed from Saint Qi was disintegrated, the sword light continued to fly towards Lin Yuan, without slowing down in the slightest. No! Lin Yuan cried out in despair. He did not even have time to react before his glabella was pierced, leaving behind a bloody hole. Swoosh! As soon as the bloody hole appeared between Lin Yuan's glabella, a soul that looked exactly like him flew out of his body. It was none other than Lin Yuan. When he realized he would not be able to dodge the sword ray, he had decisively abandoned his body and cast the soul detachment technique that was unique to powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage to escape. However, would he be able to escape? Swoosh! 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 Duan Lingtian, who was carrying Duan Xiling, had already appeared before Lin Yuan's glabella was pierced by the sword ray. It was as though he was crossing heaven and earth with each step he took. In just a blink of an eye, he was already near Lin Yuan. Soul escape? Duan Lingtian didn't seem surprised at all when he saw Lin Yuan's soul leave his body before his body was killed. Instead he sneered. In the blink of an eye, Duan Lingtian hugged his daughter, Duan Xiling, tightly in his arms as he raised his right hand and struck Lin Yuan's body and soul with his palm. Immediately, bang! A loud muffled sound was heard, At the same time, waves of majestic saint origin surged out of Duan Ling Tian's right palm like a surging river. Wave after wave, it was endless. No! Lin Yuan's soul, which had just escaped from his body, let out a cry of despair in the face of the destructive power that swept over like a vast ocean. The next moment, whether it was his body or soul, it was like a lone boat in the vast sea that was drowned by a wave. During this entire process, he did not even cause the slightest ripple. Lin Yuan, an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace, and a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he was dead. Lin Yuan was the second elder of the Wandering Saint Palace, who was at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage that Duan Ling Tian had killed in the past year. He's dead. Among the people present on the scene, only Peng Lai, an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace, clearly saw how Duan Ling Tian killed Lin Yuan. For this reason, he was the most shocked when he saw Duan Ling Tian killing Lin Yuan. Could it be that Duan Ling Tian was toying with elder Lin Yuan from the beginning? When Peng Lai looked at Duan Ling Tian again, his eyes were filled with horror. After he came to a stop for the last time, not only did he not continue to flee, he turned around and attacked elder Lin Yuan with lightning speed. He easily destroyed elder Lin Yuan's body when elder Lin Yuan cast the soul detaching technique that's unique to powerhouses at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. He easily killed elder Lin Yuan. Thinking of the scene just now, Peng Lai's pupil shrank again and again, and his heart trembled. Terrifying. This was too terrifying. Elder Lin Yuan was a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage after all. In the entire Wandering Saint Palace, the only person who could kill elder Lin Yuan so easily was the palace master of the Wandering Saint Palace. Although I'm not sure if Duan Ling Tian is a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, one thing is certain. After Duan Ling Tian cast his assist-type divine ability, his strength is comparable to a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Apart from the palace master, I'm afraid no one in the entire Wandering Saint Palace is a match for him. Peng Lai's heart skipped a beat when he thought of this. Peng Lai's heart skipped a beat. Meanwhile, the 4 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, including Ding Jianhong, did not see Duan Ling Tian's movements, but they knew elder Lin Yuan had been killed by Duan Ling Tian. What's going on? What's going on? Wasn't Duan Ling Tian being chased by elder Lin Yuan earlier? Not only did he attack elder Lin Yuan, but he even killed him in just a blink of an eye. Elder Lin Yuan died just like that. It only took him a few moments to kill elder Lin Yuan. Is Duan Ling Tian a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage? A powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage? Doesn't that mean he's at the same level as our palace master? The hearts of the patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace twitched when they saw Duan Ling Tian collecting Lin Yuan's spatial ring with just a wave of his hand. They began to discuss among themselves after a while. Apart from being shocked by Duan Ling Tian's ability to kill Lin Yuan, an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace, in such a short time, they suspected Duan Ling Tian was a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Otherwise, how could he have killed elder Lin Yuan in such a short time? Even if elder Lin Yuan is the strongest powerhouse below the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage in the Human Devil clan, Xing Yuan Ba, the Vice Palace Master of Great Spirit Palace, it's impossible for him to kill elder Lin Yuan in such a short time. I agree. No matter how strong Xing Yuan Ba is, he's only at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Even if he's at the peak of the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, it's impossible for him to kill elder Lin Yuan so easily. The 2 patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace chimed in. Due to this reason, they were even more certain. The purple-clad young man, Duan Ling Tian, was most likely a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. The patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace were shocked. On the other hand, Ke and Gan Ruyen were not surprised at all. Their expressions remained calm. This was because they knew Duan Ling Tian's strength was comparable to an ordinary powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. It was not a big deal for him to kill an elder at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. With his strength, if he wants to join our Wandering Saint Palace, even Lord Palace Master would personally welcome him. However, we're not only refusing him entry, but we're also provoking him, Duan Ling Tian said. While Ding Jianhong sighed, he could not help but mutter softly. His voice was not loud, so the other 3 patrolling disciples did not hear what he said. However, Elder Peng Lai, a powerhouse at the 7th form of the Saint Celestial stage, heard Ding Jianhong's words clearly. Duan Lingtian wants to join the Wandering Saint Palace. Peng Lai's eyes widened when he heard Ding Jianhong's words. He hurriedly sent a voice transmission to Ding Jianhong. Previously, he had rushed over from the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. All he knew was that Duan Lingtian had killed a disciple and an elder from the Wandering Saint Palace. He did not know that Duan Lingtian wanted to join the Wandering Saint Palace. Initially, he thought Duan Lingtian had intentionally come to provoke the Wandering Saint Palace. He did not expect Duan Lingtian to join the Wandering Saint Palace. Yes, Ding Jianhong quickly replied through voice transmission. He did not dare to be negligent. Since he's here to join the Wandering Saint Palace, why did he kill Chenin? Peng Lai was puzzled by this. It should be Chenin who blasphemed his woman. I believe Elder Peng Lai has heard of Chenin as well. He's extremely obsessed with women, and when he saw such a pair of gorgeous sisters, he probably thought that they didn't have any background. So, it's normal for him to go a little overboard with his words. Ding Jianhong smiled wryly through voice transmission. Damn it! I can't believe it. Peng Lai's expression darkened when he heard Ding Jianhong's reply. He did not doubt Ding Jianhong's words at all. After all, it was impossible for a powerhouse like Duan Lingtian to kill a disciple of the Wandering Saint Palace for no reason when he wanted to join the Wandering Saint Palace. That Wandering Saint Palace's disciple, Chenin, must have crossed the line and was killed by him. It's good that he's dead. It's good that he's dead. It's also good that Chen Tong died, because he didn't teach his son well. At this moment, Peng Lai only felt the deaths of Chen Tong and Chenin were purely due to their own actions. It's a pity for Elder Lin Yuan. If Duan Lingtian had joined the Wandering Saint Palace and displayed his strength, Elder Lin Yuan wouldn't have killed him, even if he had a deep grudge with him. When Peng Lai recalled Lin Yuan who was killed by Duan Lingtian, he felt it was a pity. He believed that Duan Lingtian was not a weakling. Even if Lin Yuan had a grudge with Duan Lingtian, as long as Duan Lingtian had the strength to suppress Lin Yuan would not dare to seek revenge from Duan Lingtian. Everyone was afraid of death. Moreover, it was such a worthless death. Lord Duan Lingtian, why you intend to join the Wandering Saint Palace? Chapter 2274. Lord Duan Lingtian? Elder Peng Lai's attitude changed drastically when he saw Duan Lingtian. Naturally, Ding Jianhong and the other patrolling disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace were shocked. However, when they thought about it and recalled Duan Lingtian's formidable strength, they came to a realization. If Duan Lingtian isn't joking and really wants to join our Wandering Saint Palace, I'm afraid Lord Palace Master wouldn't blame him for killing Chen Tong, Chenin, and Elder Lin Yuan. Ding Jianhong thought to himself. After all, a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage like him is much more valuable than Chen Tong, Chenin, and Elder Lin Yuan combined. Ding Jianhong inhaled sharply when he thought about this. He bowed at Duan Lingtian and said, Lord Duan Lingtian. When the other 3 patrolling disciples saw Ding Jianhong bowing respectfully to Duan Lingtian after Peng Lai, they hastily bowed as well even though they were still in a daze. Lord Duan Lingtian. After the 3 Dao masters greeted Duan Lingtian in unison, the entire place fell silent again. Duan Lingtian replied indifferently to Peng Lai's question. I sincerely want to join the Wandering Saint Palace. However, it seems like the people in the Wandering Saint Palace aren't very welcoming of me. Duan Lingtian looked at Peng Lai meaningfully when he reached the end of his sentence. It's an accident. Peng Lai hastily waved his hand when he saw Duan Lingtian looking at him meaningfully. Peng Lai said solemnly, If Lord Duan Lingtian really wants to join the Wandering Saint Palace, the Wandering Saint Palace will naturally welcome you. I believe even the Lord Palace Master will be happy to know that Lord Duan Lingtian wants to join the Wandering Saint Palace. Oh, really? I've killed many people from the Wandering Saint Palace earlier. Duan Lingtian narrowed his eyes. Those people that Lord Duan Lingtian killed deserve to be killed. If they didn't provoke you, why would you kill them, Lord Duan Lingtian? Peng Lai forced a smile on his face. Although his words sounded like he was flattering Duan Lingtian, they were his true thoughts. Lord Duan Lingtian and madams, please follow me. I'll arrange a place for you. I'll inform the Palace Master of the Wandering Saint Palace. He'll meet Lord Duan Lingtian. Was assigned a place. Palace Master Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian nodded Lai's words. Duan Lingtian and Duan Lingtian Gan Ruyan frowned when she heard Peng Lai's words. However, she did not say anything in the end. She's not my madam. As soon as Peng Lai finished speaking, Duan Lingtian pointed at Gan Ruyan and said, she's my wife's sister. Lord Duan Lingtian, I'm sorry. Madam, I'm sorry. Miss, I'm sorry. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Peng Lai immediately apologized to Duan Lingtian, Kuer, and Gan Ruyan awkwardly. He did not expect he would make such a big mistake. After apologizing, he looked at Duan Lingtian cautiously, as though he was afraid Duan Lingtian would pursue the matter. However, he sighed in relief when he saw Duan Lingtian had no intention of pursuing the matter. Following that, he led the way. When Duan Lingtian corrected Peng Lai, Gan Ruyan's expression darkened. She thought to herself, who cares? When Duan Lingtian saw Peng Lai walking toward the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, he quickly followed after him with Duan Ling in his arms. He did not bring Kerr and Gan Ruyan with him this time. There was no need to. Peng Lai walked slowly, as though he was afraid Duan Lingtian and the others would not be able to keep up with him. For this reason, there was no need for Duan Lingtian to bring the two women with him. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian and the others followed Peng Lai into the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Daddy, the people here are so strange. At first, they were so mean to us, but after Daddy chased them away, they became much more polite. Duan Ling, who was in Duan Lingtian's arms, said to Duan Lingtian, that's right. These people are like that. They won't listen to us unless we beat them up. Duan Lingtian nodded with a smile on his face. Upon hearing his words, Kerr only smiled faintly. As for Gan Ruyan, she had a strange expression on her face. While Peng Lai went to look for the Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace, shocking news began to spread in the Wandering Saint Palace. When the news spread, it caused an uproar in the Wandering Saint Palace. Chunan, a patrolling disciple, was killed outside the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Chunan's father, Elder Chun Tong, wanted to avenge Chunan, but he was killed by that person as well. The news had spread like wildfire, causing a commotion in the Wandering Saint Palace. In the history of the Wandering Saint Palace, it was rare for someone to be so bold as to kill a disciple outside the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, let alone an elder of the Wandering Saint Palace. This was a slap to the face. It was a slap to the Wandering Saint Palace's face. Who's so bold? Is he tired of living? Most of the people from the Wandering Saint Palace were furious. They felt the madman had a death wish. However, when they heard another piece of news, they were rendered speechless. After Elder Lin Yuan received the news from the patrolling disciple who crushed the communication jade slip, he personally took action. But in the end, he was still killed by that madman. How's that possible? Elder Lin Yuan was a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. How could he be killed so easily? It's said that the madman only used 2 moves to kill Elder Lin Yuan, just like how he killed Elder Chun Tong. He killed Elder Lin Yuan in 2 moves? What a joke! This isn't a joke. It's said that the madman deliberately teased Elder Lin Yuan at the beginning, bringing 2 women and a little girl to let Elder Lin Yuan chase him. In the end, he seemed to feel that he had teased enough, so he struck out like a thunderbolt and killed Elder Lin Yuan in 2 moves. Who did you hear this from? A patrolling disciple who was hiding in the dark told me. Similar rumors were spreading in the Wandering Saint Palace. When these words entered the ears of Ding Jianhong, and the other 3 patrolling disciples, they could not help but frown. Those patrolling disciples who are hiding in the dark don't know what's going on at all. They're just spreading rumors. This is too much, Ding Jianhong said with a dark expression on his face. Currently, all the rumors in the Wandering Saint Palace were unfavorable to Duan Lingtian. However, as one of the people involved, Ding Jianhong knew the truth. Even if Duan Lingtian had killed the Chen family's father and son and elder Lin Yuan, Duan Lingtian's actions had a reason, and he wasn't being arrogant or reckless. No, I must reveal the truth to the public. Otherwise, it won't be good for the Wandering Saint Palace if Lord Duan Lingtian is displeased with this. Chapter 2275. News that was unfavorable to Duan Lingtian spread in the Wandering Saint Palace. Soon after, 2 pieces of news began to spread in the Wandering Saint Palace. The reason Chunin was killed by that expert was because he disrespected the expert's woman with his words. The reason why Chen Tong was killed by that expert was because he saw his son being killed, so he tried to kill that expert without distinguishing between right and wrong. In the end, he was killed instead. When the news spread, it caused a huge commotion in the Wandering Saint Palace. After all, before this, most people had viewed the Chen father and son as the weaker party. Since they were from the Wandering Saint Palace, it was only natural for them to side with the Chen father and son. However, as the news spread, most of the Wandering Saint Palace's disciples began to doubt the authenticity of the news. They no longer sided with the Chen father and son duo. Are these 2 pieces of news true? Many people were doubtful about these 2 pieces of news. After all, these 2 pieces of news were too sudden. It was as though they were deliberately spread. It should be true. This is because the news came from a few patrolling disciples who were lucky enough to survive. Compared to the patrolling disciples who are hiding in the dark, these few people know more about what happened. Someone in the know revealed this piece of news. In an instant, the news spread from 1 to 10, 10 to 100 in the end. Almost everyone in the Wandering Saint Palace knew about this. The Chen father and son had a death wish for what they had done. Naturally, there were still many people who continued to defend the Chen father and son because they thought they were from the Wandering Saint Palace. Regardless of what happened, that person dared to kill our people outside the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. That's a slap in the face to the Wandering Saint Palace. That's right. We can't let that madman off. If that madman doesn't die, what will happen to the Wandering Saint Palace's reputation? We must ask Lord Palace Master to personally punish him. While the Wandering Saint Palace was in an uproar over the deaths of the Chen father and son, another piece of news spread. The powerhouse who killed the Chen clan's father and son is also a pure human devil. He's here to join the Wandering Saint Palace. However, in the end, the father and son from the Chen clan treated us unkindly and caused the death of one of our patrolling disciples. Everyone in the Wandering Saint Palace fell silent when they heard the news. The madman they were talking about was actually a humanoid devil who possessed a pure human bloodline? Was it one of their kind? Moreover, was the young man here to join the Wandering Saint Palace? After a brief moment of silence, another commotion broke out in the Wandering Saint Palace. Oh my God, that expert is actually one of us? Moreover, he intends to join the Wandering Saint Palace? Become one of us? That's a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, who could kill Elder Lin Yuan in 2 moves. Even if he's not as strong as our Lord Palace Master, I'm afraid he's not much weaker, right? Such an expert, yet the Chen father and son actually refused to let him in? Idiot. Idiot. Humph. From the looks of it, the death of the Chen family's father and son was purely their own fault. At this moment, no one in the Wandering Saint Palace supported the Chen family's father and son. Everyone was condemning the Chen family. The reason for this was because of the Chen family's father and son. Not only was the young man suspected to be at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage, but he was also one of them with a pure human bloodline. Of course, the most important thing was that the powerhouse wanted to join the Wandering Saint Palace. If a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage joined the Wandering Saint Palace, the Wandering Saint Palace's strength would skyrocket. This was a good thing for everyone in the Wandering Saint Palace. Although the members of the Wandering Saint Palace were known as humanoid devils, they were all pure humans. In the human world, they were devil cultivators. Let alone the devil clans. They did not feel a sense of belonging even in the human devil clans. Only in the Wandering Saint Palace did they feel a sense of belonging. Due to this unique sense of belonging, everyone in the Wandering Saint Palace hoped that the Wandering Saint Palace would grow stronger and better. For a force like the Wandering Saint Palace, if they wanted to grow stronger, they would need another powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. Only then would the Wandering Saint Palace have more room to grow. Today, they learned that a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage was planning to join the Wandering Saint Palace, but he was stopped by the Chen father and son. The Chen father and son were clearly blocking the path of the Wandering Saint Palace. This was equivalent to blocking the path of everyone in the Wandering Saint Palace. As members of the Wandering Saint Palace, how could they not be angry? After all, this matter concerned the interests of the Wandering Saint Palace and the Wandering Saint Palace. Not only did the father and son from the Chen clan cause the death of one of our patrolling disciples, but even Elder Lin Yuan was killed because of them. Damn it! They deserve to die. Soon after, many people began to voice their opinions. You're wrong about that. At this moment, another person stepped forward and explained, Elder Lin Yuan's death has nothing to do with the Chen father and son. It's because Elder Lin Yuan had a personal grudge with the powerhouse who wanted to join the Wandering Saint Palace. It was precisely because of this personal enmity that he wished for nothing more than to crush that expert's bones and scatter his ashes. And he even attacked that expert. Personal grudge? What personal grudge? Immediately, many people were puzzled by this. Speaking of personal grudges, I have to mention the incident that happened a year ago. Elder Lin Yuan's grandson, Lin Qigang, Elder He Qing's son, He Sun Jia, and Elder Lu Wei's grandson, Sitiyu Ji, died outside a ruin that was suspected to be left behind by a celestial-grade saint inscription master, right? Of course. It caused quite a commotion back then. It's said that the three of them died in the hands of a Duan Ling Tian. That Duan Ling Tian seems to be one of us who possesses a pure human bloodline. Don't tell me he's... That's right. He's the powerhouse who killed the Chen father and son, as well as Elder Lin Yuan. Heavens! It's him. As similar discussions spread throughout the Wandering Saint Palace, it was as though an earthquake had struck the Wandering Saint Palace. Everyone was shaken by the news. The powerhouse was Duan Ling Tian, who killed the sons and grandsons of the three elders in the Wandering Saint Palace a year ago? I didn't expect him to be the person from a year ago. If that's the case, it's normal for Elder Lin Yuan to kill him. However, Elder Lin Yuan probably didn't expect him to be so powerful. Otherwise, he wouldn't have acted so recklessly. Of course, even if Elder Lin Yuan has a grudge with him for killing his grandsons, he wouldn't have acted recklessly if he knew he would die. Indeed, only a fool would seek death when he knows he's going to die. The Wandering Saint Palace was destined to be chaotic today. Duan Ling Tian? Brother Ling Tian? It's him. In the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, in the spacious residence of one of the vice palace masters, a young man dressed in brocade robes rose to his feet in shock when he heard the news from the outside. Naturally, he was familiar with the name Duan Ling Tian. If Duan Ling Tian did not save him a year ago, he would have died in the ruin left behind by a celestial-grade saint inscription master. However, he did not expect Duan Ling Tian to be so powerful. After a year, Duan Ling Tian had appeared in the Wandering Saint Palace in such a domineering manner. It's still acceptable for him to kill Elder Chen Tong in 2 moves, but he killed Elder Lin Yuan in 2 moves. Could it be that his cultivation base is at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage? The young man's heart raced when he thought about this. After all, Elder Lin Yuan was an elder at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage in the Wandering Saint Palace. Although he was not at the peak of the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage, he was still a powerhouse at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. The young man was none other than Huang Qi Ling. a disciple from the Wandering Saint Palace whom Duan Lingtian had met a year ago. At that time, Huang Qiling had sensed that Duan Lingtian was not a member of the Wandering Saint Palace. That was why he had taken the initiative to strike up a conversation with Duan Lingtian. Due to Huang Qiling, Duan Lingtian had gotten into a conflict with 3 disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace. Duan Lingtian managed to kill the 3 disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace despite being besieged. The 3 disciples were the sons of the 3 elders from the Wandering Saint Palace. He seems to be in the Wandering Saint Palace right now. Huang Qiling no longer hesitated when he thought of this. He flew up into the air and left the spacious mansion. There was a guest area in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate. Usually, guests would be arranged in this area. The guest area was divided into several smaller areas. Distinguished guests would usually be arranged in separate mansions. After arriving at the guest area, Huang Qiling asked around and found out which mansion Duan Lingtian and the others were arranged in. Brother Lingtian. When they arrived outside Duan Lingtian's mansion, Huang Qiling did not barge in rashly. Instead, he called out loudly. His voice was not loud, but it was filled with saint origin, so it could be heard from afar. Come in. A familiar and gentle voice rang in Huang Qiling's ears, causing him to smile from ear to ear. He could tell the owner of the voice had not forgotten about him. How did you know I'm here? Chapter 2276. Brother Lingtian. You're now famous in the Wandering Saint Palace. If you go out and say your name, who in the Wandering Saint Palace wouldn't know you? Huang Qiling said with a smile. Heavenly voice novel initially. He was worried Duan Lingtian's attitude toward him would change. After all, Duan Lingtian was no longer the same as before. He was suspected to be a powerhouse at the 9th form of the Saint Celestial stage. However, when Huang Qiling saw Duan Lingtian greeting him with a smile, he realized something was amiss. This brother Lingtian was still the same brother Lingtian from a year ago. Oh! Duan Lingtian was slightly surprised when he heard Huang Qiling's words. Duan Lingtian finally understood what had happened after Huang Qiling's words. His actions today had caused a commotion in the Wandering Saint Palace. Father! Who's he? At this moment, Duan Qiling walked out of one of the rooms. As she walked toward Duan Lingtian, she stared at Huang Qiling curiously. He's father's friend. You can call him uncle. Duan Lingtian hugged Duan Qiling as soon as she came to his side. He had a doting expression on his face as he spoke to Duan Qiling uncle. Duan Qiling looked at Huang Qiling and called out to him sweetly. Huang Qiling responded with a smile, and a burst of warmth rose in his heart. All of this was because Duan Lingtian had addressed him as a friend. In other words, Duan Lingtian had treated him as a friend. Since it's our first meeting, I didn't bring a gift. I obtained this jade pendant by chance a few years ago. I'll give it to you. Huang Qiling rummaged through his spatial ring before he took out a jade pendant that was round and green. The moment the jade pendant appeared, the air in the surroundings seemed to have warmed up. It was as though the jade pendant was a natural furnace. Duan Qiling did not take the jade pendant when Huang Qiling handed it to her. Instead, she looked at Duan Lingtian, as though she was waiting for his permission. Since it's a gift from me, you can take it. Duan Lingtian smiled affectionately as he patted Duan Qiling's head. Thank you, uncle. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Duan Qiling grabbed Huang Qiling's jade pendant and played with it. Wow, it's so warm and comfortable. I didn't expect brother Lingtian to have a daughter. Huang Qiling. At the same time, he could not help but recall Duan Lingtian's name. When Huang Wenjing first returned, she thought he was close to Duan Lingtian, so she had come to ask him about Duan Lingtian. At that time, he could tell Duan Qiling was interested in Duan Lingtian. Huang Wenjing had fallen in love with Duan Lingtian. Sister Wenjing still doesn't know brother Lingtian has a wife and daughter. If she finds out, I'm sure she'll be sad. At this moment, the news of brother Lingtian's arrival in the Wandering Saint Palace has most likely reached her ears. Huang Qiling sighed inwardly when he thought about this. He knew Huang Wenjing very well. She had been arrogant since she was young. Although she had many suitors, She had never looked at a man seriously, let alone fall in love with one. Due to this reason, when he discovered Huang Wenjing had fallen for Duan Lingtian a year ago, he was so shocked that he could not regain his senses for a long time. I'm afraid only someone like Brother Lingtian is worthy of Sister Wenjing, the most beautiful woman in the human devil clan. At that time, Huang Qiling had sighed inwardly. However, he realized now that Huang Wenjing had fallen in love with Huang Wenjing. Even if Duan Lingtian was worthy of Huang Wenjing, it was impossible for them to be together since Duan Lingtian already had a wife and daughter. Although it was normal for powerful men to have multiple wives in this world, where only the strong were respected, he knew Huang Wenjing's temper very well. She would never share the same man with another woman. While Duan Lingtian and Huang Qiling were chatting in the residence of an elder in the Wandering Saint Palace's estate, bang! A loud noise rang in the air as a white-haired old woman smashed the stone table in front of her into pieces. The old woman's bright eyes were suffused with a cold glint. It was like a knife or a sword, as if it could tear everything apart. Duan Ling Tian. Following that, the old woman let out a low, hoarse roar, almost enunciating every word. Her tone was filled with anger and endless hatred. Of course, it was also filled with deep helplessness. I'm useless. I won't be able to avenge you for the time being. The old woman's eyes widened as she muttered to herself. However, don't worry. Although I can't kill Duan Lingtian, I can kill the people around him. I heard he has a wife and a daughter. I don't believe he'll be able to stay by his wife and daughter's side for the rest of his life. As long as I have the chance, I'll kill his wife and daughter and bury them with you. I'll make Duan Lingtian suffer for the rest of his life. I'll make him regret killing you. The hatred in the old woman's voice intensified as she muttered to herself. It was as though she would not rest until Duan Lingtian was dead. Based on the old woman's words, it was obvious who she was. She was none other than the grandmother of Situ Yuji, one of the 3 disciples from the Wandering Saint Palace, whom Duan Lingtian had killed a year ago. She was an elder at the 8th form of the Saint Celestial stage. 2 of the 3 disciples killed by Duan Lingtian a year ago had their elders killed by Duan Lingtian. Only Lu Wei, an elder from the Wandering Saint Palace, was left. Today, Lu Wei learned that Duan Lingtian, the person who killed her grandson, had come to the Wandering Saint Palace. When she heard that Duan Lingtian had killed Lin Yuan, whose strength was on par with hers with just 2 moves, she temporarily dismissed the idea of seeking revenge from Duan Lingtian. This was because she knew she would only be courting death if she sought revenge from Duan Lingtian. For this reason, she had chosen another path of revenge. She wanted to wait for an opportunity to kill Duan Lingtian's wife and daughter, so that Duan Lingtian would regret it for the rest of his life. However, would she be able to obtain that opportunity? Brother Lingtian, it's here. Suddenly, a voice came from outside and clearly entered Lu Wei's ears, causing Lu Wei's expression to change greatly. Brother Lingtian? Don't tell me it's Duan Lingtian. When he thought of this, Lu Wei, whose expression had already changed greatly, couldn't help but fiercely shrink his eyes. Swoosh! As soon as Lu Wei's eyes widened, the sound of wind whistling rang in the air. Lu Wei's eyes widened in shock again. She did not know how to react at all. Whoosh! When Lu Wei finally regained her senses, a figure appeared in her line of sight. It was a purple-clad young man. Although it was her first time meeting this young man, she had seen him in the portrait before, so she recognized him at a glance. This purple-clad young man was the person who killed her grandson, Situ Yuji. He was her sworn enemy, Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! Another sound of wind whistling rang in the air. It was a young man in embroidered clothes. He was none other than Huang Qiling. Duan Lingtian, why are you here? I didn't look for you to take revenge. Lu Wei looked at Duan Lingtian and said in a deep voice. In Lu Wei's opinion, if she did not look for Duan Lingtian to take revenge, then Duan Lingtian had no reason to kill her. However, did some things require a reason? I know you didn't look for me to take revenge. When he heard Lu Wei's words, Duan Lingtian said indifferently. However, I have a habit. I don't like to let a hidden danger that can threaten the safety of the people around me continue to exist in this world. Duan Ling Tian revealed his intentions after he finished speaking. He wanted to eliminate the source of trouble. He wanted to completely eliminate Lu Wei, this hidden danger. Huang Qiling, you're the one who asked him to kill me? Lu Wei's eyes widened when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. She looked at Huang Qiling ferociously as she said, "Don't forget that you're the son of the Vice Palace Master of Wandering Saint Palace. You've violated the palace rules by helping an outsider to deal with me." "Elder Lu Wei, what are you talking about?" Huang Qiling frowned when he heard Lu Wei's words. He pretended to be confused as he said, "I'm only accompanying Brother Ling Tian around the palace today. What do you mean by helping an outsider to deal with you? Why don't I understand?" "Don't act dumb," Lu Wei said coldly. "You know very well what you've done." In fact, Lu Wei had guessed correctly. The reason Duan Ling Tian appeared here was due to Huang Qiling's persuasion. "Brother Ling Tian, with your actions today, Situ Yuji's grandmother, Elder Lu Wei of Wandering Saint Palace, definitely won't dare to seek revenge from you. However, she's not a simple person. Perhaps she won't dare to seek revenge from you in the future. However, she'll do whatever it takes to make you feel regret and pain. For example, she'll harm the people around you. And this was also her usual method in the past. When she was young, she once had an extremely resounding nickname, Black Widow. Therefore, I advise you, if possible, it's best if you kill her before the palace master comes looking for you to prevent future trouble." These were Huang Qiling's exact words before they arrived. Upon hearing Huang Qiling's words, Duan Ling Tian thanked Huang Qiling and did not hesitate to ask Huang Qiling to lead the way to Lu Wei, an elder from the Wandering Saint Palace. His wife and daughter were even more important to him than his own life. He would not allow anyone who could threaten them to live in this world. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian raised his hand, and the 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword appeared in his hand. His eyes were cold and emotionless as he looked at Lu Wei. Sword-wielding technique. As soon as Lu Wei turned around to flee, Duan Lingtian's 1,000 inscriptions Saint Sword flew out from his hand. Stop. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.